Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why are you here? Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday midday edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
I forgot you got here first today, so I was on the right side. Yeah, so I had to manually switch that around. Yeah, because you beat me to the office. Russell beat me to the office today.
I did.
I was late.
I
was
spite of
toasting some leftover pizza. Yeah.
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 Was it Pizza Hut?
No, I don't. I boycott Pizza Hut now. No, it was.
I was testing you.
Yeah. No, just had some leftover pizza from yesterday. Hope everybody's doing all right. Nice crowd in here to start things out. 592 in the YouTube chat. 240
trying to give the Vanguard a clip.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been something. That would have been a nice moment.
Weiss confesses to Pizza Hut hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been something. So, hey, I made a surprise appearance on the Jimmy Dore Show last night. Thanks to everybody who was watching. It's great to be there as always. Nice little surprise guest appearance I got to make over there. So that's always fun. This is a travel day for Mr. Dobular, who is up early. By up early, we mean up in the middle of the night ahead of a long day of traveling, I guess.
I mean, not really with the high-speed train, apparently. There's going to be my first time on a high-speed train. Get you to Vang Vieng in 50 minutes. I've been advised, if you think you're going to be watching the beautiful scenery, you got another thing coming because it's a high-speed train. It's just going to be like a blur.
Like a blur. It'll be very futuristic. Yeah.
It'll be very futuristic. It's going to be interesting, but I'm looking forward to that. And I'm only there for a couple days. But one of the things I'm going to do is a hot air balloon. I've never done it before.
That is something I would never do, but add that to the list of things you do that I'd never do. Yeah. I was telling Russ before the show, I worked a hot air balloon festival once, but no hot air balloons took off because the weather has to be very specific. There's a high chance of cancellation. Because,
that's the thing. It may not happen. They make that very clear in their disclaimer. Like, hey, don't be disappointed if the weather's not right. Safety first. We're not going up, so the winds have to be right. Like all that. Because it's like
booking a Ro Khanna interview. It's scheduling a balloon,
exactly,
a hot air balloon flight. Yeah,
exactly. Like, don't be disappointed. He should have given us that disclaimer.
He should open a hot air balloon tour business.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Honestly, when I went to India that time, the two of the ladies on the tour with me, because that was an option in one of the places we were, they went on the hot air balloon ride. And I was like, I was way too scared to go with them on the hot air balloon ride. What I have found, and this is a big part of why I've been doing what I'm doing overall, not just this trip, the more you push against your fears, the less fears you have. It's really like that. Like, it really is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, I'm much braver than I was 2 years ago because I've done a lot of things in between that makes me more like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Then,
No, I mean, that definitely makes sense. That
yo,
definitely
the
makes
old
sense.
French bridge here. I was thinking about that today. That bridge would have scared the shit out of me, man. They call it the old French bridge. I haven't researched it, but I'm assuming that's exactly what it is. Yo, man, that's some like metal strut shit that the French threw up when they colonized 100 years ago.
Right.
And cars can't go on it. It's just motorcycles. And you go across that, you can feel it moving. And the walkway, the pedestrian walkway, is basically like just a metal strip with gaps on the side that you walk on. On the other side, you're looking down on the water, and this bridge is going like that. And yeah, man, I don't know, man. I guess if I had to, I would have made myself go across it, but it would have really bothered me.
Right.
Now I'm like, it ain't no thing. The more
there
shit
you
like
go.
that you do, that's what you see also coming to a place like this. Like, people live with a lot less neurosis about their safety because they're in an environment where that's just not on the menu, man. Everyone, you'll see a 10-year-old get on the motorcycle, grab his little sister, put her on the front, ride a couple blocks, grab his little brother, put him behind him, and go riding down the street. Like, yo, how phobic can you be?
Right.
This is what is expected of you in your culture.
Right. Oh, of course. All right, folks. Well, we are going to jump right into things. Before we do, I just want to make a fun little announcement. So we're going to start doing this because I was talking to Russ. What we can do is we can raid our premieres on our sister channels. So today I have on my Shuffle podcast, I have what happened here? Oh, there it is. I'm doing a premiere of my top 5 albums in 1990 countdown over at youtube.com/@ShufflePod. So go ahead and tune into that after. We're doing this thing where at the end of this stream, for those of you who stay to the end, we're going to raid that premiere. That premieres at 4 o'clock, so it'll be premiere probably about a half hour after we're done here, maybe 45 minutes after we're done here. So you can go hang out, chat, like, all that, youtube.com /@ShufflePod. I'll be doing my top 5 1990 album countdown. That should be a fun one. In fact, for those of you with keen ears,
your stalker is waiting.
Yeah, for those of you with keen ears who are knowledgeable, what's happening? I'm like freezing. What's going on with my stuff here? There I go. Am I back? Russell?
You're here.
I'm back? Okay, my shit just froze. Okay, yeah. So, no, I froze on my end there. So for those with keen ears and a knowledge of music, you're going to get, and I'm not going to mention it when it happens, you're going to have to know. I'm counting down my best albums in 1990, and with some honorable mentions. There's going to be a teaser of that video somewhere in this stream. It's going to be hidden somewhere in the stream, and I'm not going to mention it. But if you know your stuff, you're going to know it when you see it or when you hear it. All right. I will leave you with that suspense. Let's get started. Hey, go ahead.
That's an awesome channel. In terms of mine, I'm working on the next video, but it's tough when you're on the road doing a show 3 days a week. Keaton just goes up there, man. He monologues, and it comes out great. This by definition.
Oh, he's got to edit. It's much bigger. Yeah. Talking about what music I like, it's a much lower overhead business I have here.
Well, the difference between me and Keaton is how do you say it? He's smart.
Well, I mean, think about it now. Now that you got a travel channel, you're going to get to write off like all of this shit.
I already did that as a tour guide.
No, but I'm talking about like, oh, you mean when you travel like this internationally? Now all this is business.
It's research.
Yeah. There you go.
It was always a business expense. Check this out, man. Yo, that motherfucker smokes a cigarette. I'll shit myself. Man. You see that?
That's funny.
The operator smoked a cigarette.
That's pretty funny.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
All right. So look out for the hidden Easter egg, the preview of today's music show. And that's at 4 o'clock. So please do join us over there. Jesse, thanks for posting the links to the channels in the YouTube chat. Appreciate that. All right, folks, this is not really a segment. This is just a quick piece, but, you know, we have to kind of tout when we predict something correctly, since predictions are hard to get right. And this is a prediction that I really wish I was not right about. And I suppose I'm technically not right about it yet, but here is a sign. Remember what I told you was going to happen for the midterms? Well, here's Steve Bannon saying exactly what I said they were going to start calling for. Steve Bannon calls for ICE to surround polling stations to prevent elections from being stolen. We need to call this out for what it is. They want to intimidate black and brown American citizens and keep them from voting. Here's Steve Bannon.
We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen.
This is exactly what I told you they were going to do, because the SAVE Act is a non-starter unless they abolish the filibuster, which I really don't think they want to do. They're not going to be able to nationalize the election infrastructure. I don't think that would survive even a right-wing court. It's blatantly unconstitutional. So what is their option? This is their option. This is their option. And I was looking around on Facebook, of all places, because, you know, that's where you find, no offense, you know, more of the kind of boomer, elder Gen X cohort that's going to, like, buy into this. Well, yeah, they should be at the polling places, you know. If you're not illegal, then why do you care if they're at the polling places, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's obvious voter suppression for reasons that, you know, we really shouldn't have to explain. But in case any persuadable person stumbles upon this video, first of all, let's say you are an American citizen. Do you know where your passport is right now? Like, you're gonna have to carry proof of citizenship with you to the polls? Do you have that kind of documentation handy? I don't necessarily think, certain people do. That is a barrier to voting. Also, who's gonna get stopped and have their papers checked? Is it gonna be white people? No, it's gonna be, as the tweet says, right, black and brown people. What does that also mean? What does that also mean? That also means if they're stopping people and checking their papers at a polling place, especially in black and brown areas, which tend to be more urban areas, more densely populated areas, what's that going to mean? Longer wait times at the polls. There's going to be longer lines, right, because there's going to be an extra step, which is going to deter, yes, even American citizens, maybe even some white American citizens who don't need their papers checked according to ICE. Maybe it's going to deter them from voting. You're just putting up roadblocks to the voting process. There's a reason why voting is a right, is because it's supposed to be easy to do within reason, and it is easy to do within reason. That's why you have to sign your name when you check in to vote. They ask your name, they make sure you're on the rolls, you sign your name, it's one signature, one vote, you go and you vote. That's how it happens. This is clearly an intimidation tactic, and it's amazing how many people don't understand that. It's amazing how many people, these people out of the other side of the mouth that talk about, what a free country this is. They're the ones waving the 4th of July flags, freedom this, freedom that. So you want militarized police patrolling the polling places, and your answer is, well, if you're not illegal, why do you care? Well, I just laid out a few reasons why everybody should care.
Well, especially given that you've got an out-of-control Gestapo that's been going around and shooting people in the head who are American citizens.
Hey, you, give me your fucking papers. Like you're starting fights at the polling places. It's going to scare people away, just the chaos of it all.
Well, of course. And you being an American citizen has not stopped these guys from grabbing you and throwing you into detention.
Right.
So if you're brown and a naturalized citizen, of course you're going to be afraid to go there. You could wind up in CCOT with these maniacs.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to do to you. Yep. They're shooting white Americans.
Right.
They're not going to think anything of shooting some Latino who says, I don't have to show you my papers. Yep. It's to that extreme. It's to that dystopian level.
And these people know that there's no, like Steve Bannon surely knows that there is no widespread problem of illegal immigrants voting. He knows exactly what he's advocating for. He's advocating for voter intimidation. That is exactly what they are advocating for. They know that's what they're advocating for. They know that will be the point of deploying ICE to patrol polling places. voter fraud is a very serious crime. Like, your life gets really fucked up if you commit voter fraud. And think of what is the risk reward for voter fraud. Like, if you're going to commit voter fraud, the reward is you get to rig one vote in favor of your candidate, and the penalty is, I don't know what, I mean, it's serious time, though. It's jail time. It's a federal crime. Like, like I said, it's a very serious crime. So there's no incentive for people to commit voter fraud. There may be incentive for people at the upper echelons of the political game to commit election fraud, but that's different from voter fraud.
Right.
So the idea of ICE going to the polls, that's a form of voter intimidation, and it is a deterrent from people showing up to the polls, because at the very least, you're going to create longer lines in more urban, bluer areas, because you're going to add an extra step to the voting process. And I said in the last segment we did, I mean, I've said this a few times in the last few months, that this is what they were going to try to end up doing, because these other things are not going to work. The SAVE Act is not going to work. They're not going to get to overhaul the infrastructure, but they do have executive authority over ICE, and this is something that they could do. All they have to do is come up with a pretext to do it, which they've been doing for decades. I mean, you know, the right has been screaming about illegal immigrants voting for as long as I've been alive. So, of course they're going to do this. Yeah, I think it's a likelihood. I think it is, because the polls are bad. They're terrible for the Republicans, and getting worse, as we will see a little bit later on in the show. All right.
Why does Sloppy Steve still have a seat at the table when he was giving Epstein advice on how to rehabilitate his image? I thought conservatives hate that Epstein shit.
Yeah.
Why is he still? Why are they still listening to him? Why does he still have an audience? I thought you care so much about PDF files. He's a PDF file enabler.
He should start a podcast with Noam
Incontrovertibly, this guy was trying to help out Epstein. Well, yeah, just like Chomsky was advising him on how to clean up his image. So why is that okay all of a sudden? Just like Besant. Just like Besant. He's dancing around with Nicki Minaj, and all of a sudden, that's the coolest thing in the world. All of a sudden, they love black female rappers and George Soros associates. All of a sudden, that's awesome. All of a sudden, it's the best clip ever.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's take some Rumble Rants and Super Chats here. Ravid Laz says, well, we've had progress of a kind with these files. According to them, we've had at least 3 gay bi presidents already. Thank you, Ravid Laz. Mike Dyke Bagike. What the hell is that name? Keaton, this is Mike. Did you receive my line about shipping that? Oh, it's Michael Castillo. All right. That slab of petrified wood. I know you've been busy. I saw you on Jimmy's show yesterday. Thank you, Mike. I did not see that email. I did check the email, though. I may have missed it, because I did check our inbox. So it's possible I just missed it when I checked it, because we get a lot of them. But I will take a second look. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm definitely putting that on the shelf, assuming it's small enough and compact enough to fit on the shelf. Definitely going to put a nice slab of wood in the backdrop here. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Still waiting to see what else comes from that Epstein guy. Thank you, Vienticus Prime. Appreciate that. Professor Brown notes, says Chomsky proved you're never too old to shit your bed. Wild stuff. Also, people are saying he was friends with that Epstein. Good one. Good one. Let's see. RB Ham says, sure looks like I'm on point in asserting that Epstein, Charlie Kirk, and Corey Comparator are sipping Mai Tais on a beach on an undisclosed island in the Caribbean. I'm a prophet, not a conspiracy. That's the story we forgot to do. We forgot to do the cop. Yeah. That's a good story.
Yeah, we never got to that.
Yeah. EO Shush says, great job on Jimmy's show. With a limited amount of time and a complex issue, you broke it down and I got it. Just like all Somalians are pirate fraudsters, all Jews are Epstein. Good one.
Is that what you conveyed?
I guess that's what I communicated. I guess that was the takeaway.
Jonathan Greenblatt's going to put you on the list.
Yeah.
If you're not already. We're probably already on a few lists.
Yeah. I don't know. Am I on an anti-Semite list? I mean, Stop Anti-Semitism doesn't put Jews on their lists. So I don't know.
That's true. That is true. It messes with the narrative.
Yeah, it's off brand. It's off brand. All right. You got a couple super chats over there?
Nong, nong, nong. I want to tell Rokana to subpoena any LiDAR imagery of the 19th hole at Mar-a-Lago that may exist from the past 20 years. All right. If we get them, we'll tell them. The progressive lefty. I was just elected head of my local hospital union. Congratulations.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great to hear.
Now go out on strike.
Yeah.
That is not serious advice. 3-1 number. Like 10% of rural America have passports. Yeah, Americans are among the lowest of passport holders, not surprisingly. Sean Hurl, super sticker. Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Sean
right.
Hurl. Appreciate that
All
very
right.
much.
That's the line. That's the line. We got to get these numbers up, people. Those are rookie numbers.
Those be rookie numbers. Oh, we got good numbers here in the chat. 1434 in the YouTube chat. 409 over on Rumble. Smash that like button, please. Smash that subscribe button in YouTube world. Smash that follow button in the Rumble room. All right, we're going to move right on along here. So, folks, you probably have seen this video already. This is pretty terrible stuff here. Aaliyah Rahman, an American citizen, being dragged from her car by ICE. She was on her way to a doctor's appointment. This video went viral, what was it, about a month ago, I think? So let's take a look just to refresh anybody's memory in case you forgot. In case, this has been, moved out of your memory by the other videos of ICE, being violent towards people. Move, move.
Hey, go that way. Hey, back the up. Sidewalk, 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 sidewalk. You can film from the sidewalk.
Get out of here!
See, this is how they direct traffic in hell. So if any of you go to hell when you die and you start driving around hell, this is what it looks like to be directed around. This is how they do traffic. This is how they do traffic control in hell. They mob your car and scream at you to go, go, go. And then you go to go and you almost hit somebody, so you stop, and then they come and they scream at you some more. But it gets worse. It gets much worse. See, so now she's trying to drive away, and they won't let her drive away.
Look at these fucking scumbags.
This is immigration enforcement.
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Look at that. Cuts the seatbelt and drags her out. All right.
Yeah, man. We need to bring back the term pigs. We really need to renormalize use of the term pigs for these cops.
Here's Jesse Waters on Fox News, trying to deny that such events like that really happen.
Police cooperated with the federal government.
There are Americans being pulled out of their cars. Americans.
You know why, Jessica? Because they're getting in the way. Why do you think she
that
got
woman
pulled
driving
out?
to her doctor's appointment?
She was just a mom. She was just a mom in the wrong place. You guys lie about all of this.
That's another hoax.
Okay.
You're going to find out
Add it
tomorrow.
to the list.
She's
Yes.
not going to a doctor's appointment. She was obstructing an ICE operation.
They're
And these
just-
resignations, Jessica, that's another hoax. It's already been debunked.
Really?
And how can you look at these
Debunked by
videos
who?
by everybody? It's like hours ago that was debunked. They resigned in like October.
Okay, so the reason I'm showing this to you now is because the Democrats had an unofficial hearing about all of this. I believe this was Tuesday, the 4th. So Tuesday the 4th was when these videos came out. So it was probably on Monday or Tuesday. earlier this week. They had a sort of unofficial hearing because, of course, they are the minority party. The Republicans would not grant them an official hearing on Capitol Hill, so they moved to an alternate location, and they brought some cameras in, and they had people come and testify as to their experiences with ICE. So here is Aliyah Rahman, the woman in those videos, doing just that.
Wanted to pull into a blocked, chaotic intersection, but verbally agreed to do so and rolled down my window after
let me restart that.
I had not wanted to pull into a blocked, chaotic intersection, but verbally agreed to do so and rolled down my window after an agent yelled, "Move! I will break your effing window!" His first instruction. Agents on all sides of my vehicle yelled conflicting threats and instructions that I could not process while watching for pedestrians. Then the glass of the passenger side window flew across my face. I yelled, "I'm disabled," at the hands grabbing at me, and an agent said, "Too late." I was carried face down through the street by my cuffed arms and legs while yelling that I had a brain injury and was disabled. I now cannot lift my arms normally. I was never asked for ID, never told I was under arrest, never read my rights, and never charged with a crime.
And that was part of this hearing. Brothers of Renee Good describe family's grief and urge action at Democratic Forum on ICE force. One of the brothers of Renee Good, the 37-year-old mother of three who was shot and killed by an immigration agent in Minneapolis, told congressional Democrats on Tuesday that he needed their help. Luke Ganger said their family had taken some consolation in the thought that his sister's death might spark a change. So here is Renee's brother, Luke, testifying to this, I guess, unofficial Democratic committee.
My name is Luke Ganger, and I'm here with my brother, Brent. Renee Good is our sister. We're here on behalf of Nae's big family and those who loved her. We're here to ask for your help. I was talking to my 4-year-old last week when she noticed I was not doing well. I had to come here today and talk to some important people. She knows that her aunt died and that somebody caused it to happen. She told me that there are no bad people and that everyone makes mistakes. She has Nae's spirit. The deep distress our family feels because of Nae's loss is in such a violent and unnecessary way is complicated by feelings of disbelief, distress, and desperation for change. In the last few weeks, our family took some consolation, thinking that perhaps Nae's death would bring about change in our country, and it has not. The completely surreal scenes taking place on the streets of Minneapolis are beyond explanation. This is not just a bad day or a rough week or isolated incidents. These encounters with federal agents are changing the community and changing many lives, including ours, forever. And I still don't know how to explain to my 4-year-old what these agents are doing when we pass by.
Pretty heartbreaking stuff, obviously. Tuesday's forum, not an official hearing because Republicans did not agree to it, was led by Representative Robert Garcia. From Long Beach, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, and Senator Richard Blumenthal, the top Democrat on the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. It was held not in the Capitol, but a nearby Senate office building. Garcia said Blumenthal convened the forum to gather testimony on the violent tactics and disproportionate use of force by agents of the Department of Homeland Security. So Kelly tweets out, no Republicans showed up to hear Renee Good's brother testify. It's their cruel and abusive immigration policies that caused her death. They're allowing DHS to cover up a murder, and they didn't have the courage to face her brother or the decency to hear what he had to say. Yeah, that is accurate. That is accurate, and that explains what we're seeing here. This is hot off the presses as of yesterday evening. ICE gets even worse ratings in polling after Preddy's fatal shooting. Majority calling for Noam's removal. New polling conducted in the days since Veterans Administration nurse Alex Preddy was shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis finds support for ICE decaying even further. A majority of voters calling for DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to be removed, and nearly half of voters saying they know someone who is living in fear because of the Trump administration's deportation policies. Nearly half saying they know someone who lives in fear because of the deportation policies. So here's some data from this last round of Quinnipiac polling. More voters disapprove of the way ICE is enforcing immigration laws now than last month. You're starting to see these numbers now on what was Donald Trump's signature issue when he ran. I mean, he had a 60% favorability rating on this back in January, and this was largely why he won. Now you're not even seeing him break 40% on this. 63% disapprove of ICE, just 34% approve. 58 say Noam should be removed from her position. Only 34% say she should remain. Majority of voters say Trump administration has not given an honest account of Preddy's shooting. Registered voters, 61% say they have not been honest. Just 25% of voters say that they have been honest about this. Only 60% of Republicans are saying they've been honest about this. Of course, what do we say every time? The independents are the ones who count. 65-20. Absolutely dismal, as has been the case. That has been the trend. Most voters say recent ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis are a sign of broader problems in the way ICE operates. 59-32 who say these are just isolated incidents. Half of voters say Trump administration's approach to immigration is making the U.S. less safe. 51% say they're making it less safe. 35% say they're making it safer. You're not even approaching 40% affirmation in any of these policy questions. And this was your best issue when you ran, and this was your best issue polling-wise in January. They polled on immigration better than they polled on inflation, actually, but not anymore. 6 in 10 voters, how about this? 6 in 10 voters say most undocumented immigrants should be given a pathway to legal status rather than be deported. That is just a straight up reversal. Remember at the beginning when Trump took over, 60% say deport them all. You know, that's it. No path to citizenship, nothing. That's now worse than flipped. Once again, just 34%. What's the theme here? The only people who are saying yes to these things are the third of the country who is basically the MAGA cult. I mean, that's what it is. A third of the country is basically in a cult. And that's basically all that they have left at this point. And answers like this are not making things any better. Here's Donald Trump asked about the two ICE killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good.
Good. You said ICE made some mistakes. What were the mistakes?
Well, look, I'm not happy with the two incidents. It's not, it's both of them, not one or the other. He was not an angel, and she was not an angel. You look at some tapes from back, but still, I'm not happy with what happened there. Nobody could be happy, and ICE wasn't happy either. But I'm going to always be with our great people of law enforcement, ICE, police. We have to back them.
Well, just look at
at
the latest numbers.
No, we don't.
Look at the latest numbers. People don't back them. People don't support what they're doing. It's their right not to support what they're doing. And by 2-to-1 margins now, people do not support what ICE is doing. And so this is starting to look more and more like Republicans taking that infamous 20% side of what is fast becoming an 80-20 issue.
That is exactly what I was going to say. You remember Scott Jennings? Yeah, well, we won by taking the 80% side of every 80-20 issue. Well, there's not a lot of popular support for shooting VA nurses 6 times for no reason, for trying to protect a woman that they were attacking.
Right. Yeah.
And for covering up for PDF files.
Right.
Not a lot of support for that either.
Yep. No, I mean, this is really becoming a politically unsurvivable event, as we said it would. I mean, this was not difficult to see coming, and it's no surprise that the Republicans blocked that hearing. I think it's good that they had that hearing. I think it's good that they had cameras there. Obviously, that's the point. But, that hearing got a lot less exposure than it would have were it to have taken place on Capitol Hill. And there's a reason why the majority party doesn't want that. But what does it say about them that they don't want that? What does it say about the Republican Party that they are opposed to hearing from people who had these run-ins with ICE? If what Jesse Waters was saying was true there, and that she were a liar, and that she was not on her way to a doctor's appointment, she was there to obstruct ICE. Don't forget, if they have a hearing on Capitol Hill, it's not the Democrats get to, puff them up. It's the Republicans get a chance to cross-examine them. So if that woman was a liar, and you wanted to prove that she was a liar, and you wanted to rehabilitate ICE's tanking image, wouldn't you want to have them on Capitol Hill? Wouldn't you want Ted Cruz to get to cross-examine them? But, of course, they didn't.
Right.
They didn't want a chance to cross-examine them. They wanted to bury the whole thing so that as few people saw it as possible. That tells you they are not confident in this whole operation anymore. They know it's a political loser. They know that there's no way you can bring Renee Good's brother in front of a microphone and look good as a party. Or, more to the point, the woman who Jesse Waters accused of lying about her doctor's appointment. All right, so she's a liar. Why wouldn't you bring her into Congress, have her testify under oath? And then if she's a liar, prove it. They can't prove it. They have nothing. They have nothing but a very sad sack of broken, mostly men, not all men, who just get off on cruelty because it makes them feel more powerful. That's it. Yep. That's all that's left here. And in a country as traumatized by violence and sadism as this one, unfortunately, that's 60, 70 million people. It's about a third of people who answer these pollsters. It's more than it should be, but it's not nearly enough to win the day. That's why we saw these numbers reversing far in advance. We could see the trend pretty quickly.
Well, you ask, what do people get out of it? That's what they get out of it. They get the chance to create the illusion, first of all, that they're part of a movement, and they're not. They're mostly talking to bots on X. They're mostly talking to AI. Right. Don't even realize it. Most of the people they're engaging with literally don't exist. And you're not actually, and both sides, so-called sides, do this, but in different ways. If you're not going to improve people's material circumstances, you have to distract them with a lot of virtue signaling. This is right-wing virtue signaling. Yeah, I think she should be shot in the face. That's their version of virtue signaling, and it makes them feel like they're part of something. It's it's a big Jerry Springer show, man.
Right.
Big Jerry Springer show. It's a bunch of people wanting to jump up and go, I take care of my kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's it. If you're not going to do anything meaningful for them, you got to do a lot of stuff that's meaningless for them to give them the illusion that you're doing something for them. That's what this is. And that is why we've said this again and again. You don't need any of this. Arrest 10 employers. Done.
Right. Yep.
Done. over.
Exactly.
10 employers. You don't need to hire anybody. You don't need to build a new bureaucracy. You don't need to build new facilities. So why didn't they do it that way? One, it's the spectacle for those people. And two, because they're not building this infrastructure for immigrants. They're building it for you. It was always for you. It was always to surveil you. It was always to lock you up. There's a story we didn't get to. Yeah, ICE is using the same tech surveillance capabilities they're using on immigrants. They're using that on protesters. They're using that on people who dissent. You know, they have the capacity, is another story I couldn't get to issue administrative subpoenas that don't go through courts. These don't have to go through courts. There was a story, I think it was the Times. This guy's like an old guy who, wrote a letter to a prosecutor saying not to deport an Afghan who was saying they'll kill me if you send me back there. He got an administrative subpoena sent to Google for all of his email information, and 2 DHS agents came to his door.
Wow.
You've got 1 week to file a federal lawsuit to stop them. Who can do that?
Yeah.
Who can do that? This is what they're going around doing. This guy's not, I mean, he actually was an immigrant, but like decades ago from England.
Right.
But he was a naturalized citizen.
Right.
That's it, man. It's about suppressing dissent. It's about having a national police force that they can use against you. It was never about immigrants. And as time goes on, they're going to drop that mask. They're not even going to emphasize the immigration part of the ICE mission. Increasingly, they're going to use them against you. What Bannon was saying about the polling stations, that's part of that.
Well, yeah, of course. Of course. All right. Vienticus Prime says, I was fortunate the one time I went to a hot air balloon festival. The weather was fine. I got a neat picture where it looks like I'm pinching one of the airborne balloons in my fingertips. Oh, there you go. That's a wholesome story, Vienticus. Glad you had fun. Kit's Corner says, so I guess the Epstein Files confirm Stanley Kubrick was killed not by a heart attack, but days after the final cut of Eyes Wide Shut was sent to Warner Brothers. That's a theory out there. Biding 71, we must not get hung up on the Epstein Files. We have to keep our powder dry and push the pedos left after the midterm. Thank you. Mark Pugliese, Keat, your opinion of Brooklyn hardcore. I don't really have an opinion of Brooklyn hardcore, Mark Pugliese. Sorry to disappoint. But yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on that. Remember how Trump said there were 3 million illegal votes in 2016? Yeah, what happened to that? I think it's 5 years if you commit voter fraud. Yeah, it's a very lengthy. I forget what it is, but yeah, it's totally not worth the risk. Like, that's why it's so extraordinarily rare. Sunrise, thanks for the $20. Reports by Guardian that IDF bulldozed graves of British and Australian servicemen in Gaza war cemetery with Canadian and Indian plots heavily destroyed and damaged. Interesting.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow. I didn't see that. When did that break? Was that today?
Yesterday or the day before.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. I did not see that. Nina Kant, this is such a distraction because it doesn't matter who wins on the vote. Something's gonna change. All right. Russ, you got any super chats over there?
Yep. I am the boot. You think the boot is your friend, but you merely adopted the boot. I was born in it, molded by it. Do you get that, Keaton? Do you get that reference?
No.
That's Dark Knight Rises. He's paraphrasing Bane there.
I did. I only saw that movie once. I've seen the opening scene a few times because I love the plane scene at the beginning.
The plane scene is nice.
Yeah.
What democracy? Trump. There were fine people on both sides.
That's right.
Yes. Yep. Vito P. It's Vito. Renee Good and Alex Preddy should be remembered as giving their lives for their country. Cancer sucks. You all rock. That's right, man. It's not a game. It's not a game. These are people's lives, man. There's a look at the hole this is left in that poor woman's family. It's not a game. It's not a joke. You know, the people who sit on the sidelines cheering this on. Yeah. I'm not going to say you're as bad as the people who killed her, but you're in the ballpark. You're pigs. You're pigs. Anybody who cheers that on, you're a pig.
Yep.
Ex-dead Pandex. I like how Russ says ICE is for you, not us. Yeah, no, because I'm in on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working with them.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
slipped up.
He slipped up. He slipped up. The mask slipped. Yeah. Tom Homan is his second cousin, actually. Yeah.
You didn't know he's Jewish?
You didn't know. Yeah, exactly. You didn't know he's Jewish. All right. We're going to move right on along here. I got another ICE piece, so we're going to get all this out of the way now. A little bit of encouraging news. I want to stress both little bit and encouraging. Don't want to make too much of this, but don't want to minimize it either. Trump administration to withdraw 700 immigration agents from Minnesota. The Trump administration will withdraw 700 federal immigration agents from Minnesota. Border czar Tom Homan said Wednesday. The move comes weeks after agents killed 2 U.S. citizens, sparking protests across the country. So here is Tom Homan. The man in the box. Here he is announcing plans to withdraw troops.
They don't hold them 1 minute past they normally would. Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel. We have also fully integrated CBP personnel into the ICRO team structure under one unified chain of command. Not 2 chains of command, there'd be 1 chain of command here. Any large enforcement operation I've ever been involved with, there's 1 chain of command, and that's where we're moving forward. During my press conference last week, I announced that moving forward, ICE will be conducting targeted immigration enforcement operations, like ICE has traditionally done for decades.
I thought that's what they were doing now, targeted immigration enforcement operations. Isn't that what they kept saying, that that's what they've been doing all along? Oh, you mean Operation Metro Surge wasn't giving away the game enough, that it wasn't about doing immigration operations? It was about essentially declaring war on a city? Well, I guess they're starting to pull some of the troops back. My goal with the support of President Trump is to achieve a complete drawdown and end the surge as soon as we can, Homan said at a news conference. He reiterated that immigration efforts would continue and that agents would not solely target undocumented criminals, meaning we're not just going after the worst of the worst. He says they're still going to be going after anyone who is here illegally. So here is some more of Tom Homan's speech in which he says just that.
Many public safety threats on our communities, many of which poured across the border during the Biden administration, it makes sense to prioritize public safety risk right now. Again, prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. But we have a criminal here, a non-criminal here. The criminal has to be arrested first because they're the biggest threat to the community. My goal with the support of President Trump is to achieve a complete...
I mean, it's kind of hard to make the case that anyone is a bigger threat to the community than ICE themselves. I mean, what murders in Minneapolis took place at the hands of illegal immigrants over the past 30 days in Minnesota? I haven't heard about any. And I'm sure if there were any, we'd have all known about it.
Yep. 2
but
by
no.
ICE agents.
Yeah, 2 murders by ICE agents, none at the hands of these illegal criminals that this Metro Surge operation is supposed to get out of the country, lest the community be unsafe.
Draw down and end this surge as soon as we can. But that is largely contingent upon the end of the illegal and threatening activities against ICE and its federal partners that we're seeing in the community. We will not draw down on personnel providing security for our officers. I will not let our officers be put at risk. So we will not draw down on personnel providing security and responding to hostile incidents. until we see a change in what's happening with the lawlessness of the impeding and interfering and assaulting of ICE and Border Patrol officers.
Well, Evan Kilgore is very upset about this. Tom Homan just announced he's withdrawing 700 ICE and Border Patrol agents from Minnesota. Don't let this spin this narrative as a win. The Trump administration is totally caving to the public pushback. Weak. He wants more ICE there. So here's Ken Klippenstein. I want to feature this because we feature his articles every now and then, and most of his articles are of the we're all gonna die variety. But in this one, he actually posts something that's a little more positive. In ICE's war, the public is winning. Borders Czar Tom Homan's announcement today that 700 federal agents will be withdrawn from Minnesota, a third of those deployed, may come just in time to avert a showdown. According to a Homeland Security munitions inventory leaked to me, he gets a lot of leaks. By mid-January, the feds had amassed some 35,000 weapons in Minneapolis. The inventory lists over a dozen different types of crowd control munitions, things like tear gas, stun grenades, and pepper spray. These weapons are intended for protesters, not to facilitate immigration enforcement. Yeah, obviously. Obviously. That's not immigration enforcement equipment. That is suppression of protests in the making there. Fucking overkill, quote unquote, a Homeland Security official said of the inventory. I've never seen this amount of shit being used. President Trump, as recently as Sunday, was hinting at an imminent showdown between federal law enforcement and protesters. Quote, I've instructed ICE and or Border Patrol to be very forceful in protection of federal government property, he said in a post to Truth Social, labeling ICE opponents lunatics, agitators, and insurrectionists. But jumping to Homan's announced withdrawal today, I, meaning Ken, can't think of a more obvious reversal from an administration famous for never backing down, or of a more obvious victory of public will embodied by the massive backlash to the killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. The announcement formalized changes in federal tactics already observed in recent days. Last week, the Minnesota Star-Tribune reported seeing fewer large caravans of federal agent vehicles, fewer agents on foot questioning or arresting pedestrians they come across, and fewer confrontations with protesters. Even Trump has sought to distance himself from the previous Minneapolis commander, Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, saying that he's a pretty out there kind of guy, and adding maybe he wasn't good here. This is Donald Trump.
Maybe it wasn't good here.
Maybe it wasn't good here.
Now it's got very little crime.
But it's gone very differently in Minneapolis.
Well, it has. It's the only place.
And now the message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you know, you make little changes. You know, Bovino's very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy.
You know, if you hire an assistant manager at your restaurant and they bend someone over the fryer and they shoot him in the back, you got to get a new manager. You know, you can't have that happen. You got to make changes when you're in business, you know?
Yeah, Tom, I really appreciate the work that you've been doing, but you're kind of a maniac.
Yeah, you're a little bit of a maniac. You're a little bit of an out there kind of guy. You're an out there kind of guy.
You're a little too enthusiastic about the job.
Yeah.
There's such a thing as too much enthusiasm.
There's too much. It's too much.
The business, you know, you make little changes. You know, Bovino's very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand.
Yeah, it wasn't good here. Maybe it wasn't good here. You know, maybe, you know, two people being murdered on his watch. It's not good. Maybe it wasn't the right fit. Success has many fathers, while failure is an orphan, as the saying goes. Politicians are going to try and take credit for the drawdown, no doubt with an assist from a Beltway news media that sees Washington as the protagonist of the country. But let the record show, this was a victory of public will. I agree. I think it was a victory of public will. A small victory, but a meaningful one. It is important to recognize and tout wins where they happen, because right now I think a lot of people are in a battle with themselves to believe that public will means anything, right? Because you have an administration here that is just so pedal to the metal no matter what. You almost never, as Klippenstein mentions in the article, you almost never see any concessions at all. And so the fact that they are pulling back, even if it's only a little bit in the short term, is something that you have to recognize as a victory, because victories beget more victories. It shows that speaking up actually matters, right? I mean, what administrations like this one try and do is they try to bully people into keeping their mouth shut, and their minions in the media do it for them. You had Megyn Kelly come out and say, you know why I didn't get shot? Because I stayed my ass inside. That's what they want. They want you to just shut your mouth and, not speak up when any of these things happen. And, when enough people do and they see the writing on the wall, they see the numbers turn against them in this way, despite all their bluster and bravado, it still actually does make a difference. It's the only way you can make a difference. This is what I tried to communicate in the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting, and even here, with the ICE protesters. Don't get desperate and in in ways that legitimize the sort of fascist crackdown against speech. That's why I was so adamant that you shouldn't film yourself jumping for joy that, Charlie Kirk got, you shouldn't be engaging in that, because they're going to try to use that as a pretext to censor speech. Don't make it a close call in the minds of the average person. In other words, don't conduct yourself in a way where the average person says, yeah, I'm for free speech, but on the other hand, look how out of control they are, but we got to do something. That's how we got to this point. That's how 60% of people got to a point where they approved of ICE at the beginning of this term, right? Because they thought, well, yeah, maybe we don't love the idea of masked, nationalized, militarized cops roaming our city streets, but look at how the border's gotten so out of control. Something has to be done, right? So I think it is important to recognize when popular will does move the needle, because that instills confidence that popular will can still move the needle. It's the only thing that can move the needle. It's really the only thing there is. It's the only hope there is. And so I think as small a development as this is, it is definitely an important one, because as Ken Klippenstein mentions, it's really the first major concession that they've had to make, or I shouldn't say major, but the first concession that they've had to make on any sort of policy plan in this first year.
Well, they backed off on the CCOP plan. They clearly, that was their plan, right? They want to send everybody to CCOP.
Well, that's true. And, that is true. And that was more a function of the courts, I guess. Once they got the 9-0 decision from the Supreme Court, I guess they figured, this is not viable, because what are we going to keep getting 9-0 decisions? But this was the first time where a public groundswell of opposition really moved them. But yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the fact that they're losing that much support. Sure. Look, the idea, the core idea, to state the somewhat obvious, but we lose sight of it. The idea of democracy is that these people are supposed to represent the public, and we are so far removed from the idea that we have a government that represents the public that we've almost gotten used to the concept that they don't. We've almost accepted that. When you see Homan, who you say the man in the box, he always reminds me of the corpses in the afterlife of Beetlejuice. That's what he looks like to me. You put a little blue makeup on him.
Yeah.
He looks like he'd be one of those characters in Beetlejuice. Mm-hmm. He really looks like the Pinhead from Beetlejuice. Right. You look at these criminals talking about protecting the public like they give a shit about if you actually cared about protecting the public, the last thing you would do is take a bunch of people who failed the intellectual and physical exams to be an ICE agent and set them loose in massive numbers with military equipment to go harass people on the street, when anyone with an ounce of sense would know that innocent people are going to get killed if you send these Keystone Gestapo cops out there with that kind of equipment and impunity and masks, where they feel like they don't even have to face social repercussions. Anyone could have told you that this was going to happen. So the idea that they care about protecting the public, it's a joke. You don't have anybody who represents you in the government. You have some people who I think sincerely want to do like harm reduction. I think a lot of people who even go into government with good intentions, they see what it is and they fall back to harm reduction. The idea that you are electing people and they're enacting the public will, that's completely gone. It's completely gone. And before the country can if it ever existed, and you can certainly debate that, I would argue it existed for certain groups and not others. And I would say what has happened is now it doesn't exist for anybody. And this is something a lot of people of color have pointed out, that, white people are mad now because now they live in the way we always did.
I've said that.
That's what
I've
they're
said
mad
that
about.
myself. Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
Now they're where we are. The America will not be able to fix its problems until it recognizes that the conversation is not about preserving democracy. The conversation is about creating it, because you don't have it now. And for a lot of people, you never did.
That's a great point, and that is kind of a version of my point. Like, you have to reestablish, and perhaps establish for the first time in a real sense, but certainly there's a long ways to go to even get back to where we were, 30 years ago, in terms of the public feeling like it could potentially affect any kind of policy. And that's why these kinds of moments are important, not as sort of landmark reversals of the tide, but as sort of progress markers to see, okay, when we protested and when we told the truth, a very obvious truth that was on camera for all to see, when enough people saw that, the overwhelming majority, I mean, this is not close. This is not like winning an election 53 to 46. This is 2/3 of the country understands that this was fucking murder. And they're demanding change, to the point where it got this administration, which is famous for never changing no matter what, to acknowledge they had to pull back a little bit. If we just act like, if you're too much of a doomer about this and you say, well, that doesn't matter, what's 700 people in a force of 3,000? Well, that's how you depress people into inaction. And then and then nothing builds off of it, right? I mean, it's all about building wins off of other wins. That's the name of the game. If you don't start somewhere, and unfortunately, you often have to start small, but if you don't start somewhere, you never get anywhere. So that's what I would say to that. All right. You got some super chats over there?
Sure do. Three Wonder. Speaking of ice piece, Tulsi is a piece of ice. Casey McCoy, was that the clue, Keaton? If it was, I didn't catch it.
Oh, maybe. Casey McCoy, maybe onto something.
9 Tree 53. Nong. Brow Ridge on Homan. I'm telling you, like he'd be one of the bureaucrats in Beetlejuice hell there. Axel Strife, Keaton, just know that I know, and I caught that.
Looks like we got some people in the audience.
Yes, it was. Millraven, even better than arresting employers. Require the IRS to verify the uniqueness of a social security number before accepting withholding. Do they use duplicate social security numbers? See, I would have assumed that the system would have computers that catch that already, but you never know, man.
Not sure.
One of the things that always struck me at the 9/11 museum is they have the Pentagon display, and they have some of the equipment from the Pentagon. And you're like, dude, in 2001, the Pentagon was using those phones with a paper Rolodex, and they get the most money out of the entire federal government, and that's the equipment they had. So yeah, I mean, maybe they don't have any way of sensing duplicate social security numbers. You would think they would.
You would think they would. You would think it'd be pretty easy because when someone issues you a social security number, when someone issues you like a tax form, you can look that up. Like you can use your social security number on the IRS website to see if
Right.
you've been issued a tax form that wasn't supposed to be issued to
Right,
you, so
right,
that you can then
right.
like correct it or whatever you got to do. So you would think that would happen to a lot of people if there were like people stealing other people's social security numbers,
Right.
right? You would think that
I would think.
be pretty detectable. I would think. All right. Let's see. What do we got over here? Kit's Corner. Keaton, would you consider doing a breakdown of Supertramp's Breakfast in America album? I think the logical song is pretty relevant in today's dystopian society. Isn't that about like
Well,
boarding school?
that one's always relevant.
Yeah. So that could be something. That could be something. The Anticus Prime again. ICE is a commie army. They have gender reveal. They have gender reveal parties after their outings, where they play spin the hammer, spin the sickle, see whose ass gets each in the 996. Ah, good one. That's a sophisticated rhyme. There is nothing more important to many people than the lie that brings them comfort. Ah, that's a profound one. Epstein Files says Eric Rousseau revealed that Macron is gay. Brigitte, definitely a man. No schmooly, a strap-on needed. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. The AI bot agents created their own religion on Maltbook. Thank you, Eric Rousseau.
I heard about that story, but we couldn't get to it. And it's kind of late now.
It is a little bit late now. Yeah. Eric Rousseau says Kurt Metzger and Jimmy Dore are in the Epstein Files. Thank you.
That would be a twist.
That would be a twist. All right. Why don't we move right on? All right, let's go.
Jimmy was on the plane.
Yeah, there we go. What do we got? Okay, so not quite on Epstein. Yeah, we got. Okay, this is an interesting one. Spain.
España, my possible future home. Spain announces plans to ban social media for under 16s. All right, this is a story that's going to have a lot of twists, a lot of ins, a lot of outs. So this is the Spanish Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, who was in Dubai, and he laid out his plan for regulating social media to be introduced next week in Spain. Let's see what he said.
My government will implement the following actions. First, we will change the law in Spain to hold platform executives legally accountable for many infringements taking place on their sites. This means that CEOs of these techno platforms will face criminal liability for failing to remove illegal or hateful content. And for that, we governments need to stop turning a blind eye to the toxic content shared under their watch. Second, we will turn algorithmic manipulation and amplification of illegal content into a new criminal offense. Disinformation doesn't appear by itself. It is created, promoted, and spread by certain actors. We will go after them as well as after the platforms whose algorithms amplify the disinformation for profit. No more hiding behind code. No more pretending that technology is neutral. Third, we will implement a hate and polarization footprint, a system to track, quantify, and expose how digital platforms fuel division and amplified hate. For too long, hate has been treated as invisible and untraceable. But we will change that, developing a tool that will provide the basis for undertaking future penalties. Because spreading hate must come at a cost. A legal cost, of course, a financial cost, and a moral cost that platforms can no longer afford to ignore. Fourth, Spain will ban access to social media for minors under the age of 16. Platforms will be required to implement effective age verification systems, not just checkboxes, but real barriers that work. Today, our children are exposed to a space they were never meant to navigate alone. A space of addiction, abuse, pornography, manipulation, violence, we will no longer accept that. We will protect them from the digital Wild West. Fifth and last, my government will work with our public prosecutor to investigate and pursue the infringement committed by Grok, TikTok, and Instagram. We will have zero tolerance on this matter, and we will defend our digital sovereignty against of foreign coercion.
See, I could move to Spain because I could see myself being a closeted gay influencer for that guy. That guy's a piece of ass. You know, like if you're gonna be a gay influencer for your country's leader, I mean, that guy, you know, I can kind of understand it.
Yeah, you gotta get a little be the meat and a little Antonio Banderas Sanchez sandwich there.
I'll go be the Benny Johnson of Spain when I moved there.
Okay, so I'm gonna dole out my take as we go. There are a lot of parts of this, some of which I agree with, some of which I think go too far. Needless to say, a lot of the voices speaking out against it, like Elon, are completely hypocritical and have absolutely no interest in the public good. And it's really a struggle between who controls these platforms, unaccountable oligarchs or an out of control state. It's not a question of Elon wants your freedom. We've seen how the algorithms are distorted. You're not talking about a neutral platform, but we'll get into it. All right. So this is from the BBC. Spain has become the latest European country to make plans to ban social media for children under the age of 16. The ban, which still needs parliamentary approval, is part of a raft of changes that include making company executives responsible for illegal or harmful content on their platforms. Australia became the world's first country to bring in a ban last year, with others watching and judging its success. Yeah, I think they canceled like 5 million accounts in Australia when that came in. France, Denmark, and Austria have also announced that they are considering their own national age limits, also the Netherlands and Greece. The UK government has launched a consultation on whether to implement a ban for under 16s. Social media companies have argued that the bans would be ineffective, difficult to implement, and could isolate vulnerable teenagers. See, this is what I'm saying. Well, oh, yeah, no, they really care about the welfare of teenagers with their addictive, psychologically and cognitively damaging product. Oh, sure. Reddit is challenging Australia's ban in the High Court. Sanchez first mooted a possible ban in November, but on Tuesday, the plan was fleshed out. Under the changes, social media platforms would be required to have effective age verification systems, not just check boxes, but real barriers that work, the Prime Minister explained, and a possible reference to the loopholes Australian children use to bypass checks, including simply using a photo of an adult. So presumably that would probably mean biometrics, like, having to do a live shot of your face, like what you used to have to do when you drove Uber. Would probably be something like that, I would imagine. The new law also criminalize manipulating algorithms to amplify illegal content. Quote, this is something created, promoted, and disseminated by certain actors whom we will investigate, as well as the platforms whose algorithms amplify disinformation in exchange for profit, Sanchez said. Hiding behind code and claiming that technology is neutral is no longer acceptable. Now, this is the part that I agree with. You're not talking about these platforms being neutral. They're not. They're not neutral. They are algorithmically manipulated. Now, if exclusively he were talking about forcing neutrality rather than talking about having a government decide what is hate speech, I would be all for this. The problem is stepping beyond that. But his basic point here, that these platforms are designed to amplify certain messages. If you were to make that illegal, who would be against that, right? Don't we all complain that these platforms are not neutral. Problem is, he's going beyond that. There would also be a new system designed to track how digital platforms fuel division and amplify hate. No further details were given on how this would work. Another measure, Sanchez said, would be to, quote, investigate and prosecute the crimes committed by Grok, X's AI tool, TikTok, and Instagram. The European Commission has launched an investigation into Grok over concerns it was used to create sexualized images of real people. The UK has announced its own investigation into Grok, and on Tuesday in France, the offices of X were raided by the Paris prosecutor's cybercrime unit as it looked into allegations of offenses, including unlawful data extraction and complicity in the possession of child pornography. X is yet to respond to either investigation. The BBC has approached it for comment. It has previously characterized the French investigation as an attack on free speech. Sanchez said he hoped to get the laws passed next week, but that could prove difficult because his left-wing coalition government lacks a parliamentary majority. Spain's main opposition party, the Conservative People's Party, seems to approve of the ban, saying it has previously proposed similar restrictions. The far-right Vox Party has spoken out against it, however. TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, Reddit, Discord, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, have all been approached for comment. France has led the charge in Europe, with President Emmanuel Macron saying, as a former victim of an older man who found him attractive, who he now calls his wife, he wants a ban for under 15s in place by the start of the next school year in September. He didn't say the part I clearly inserted. So here is Elon making a little sex joke at the prime minister's expense. Dirty Sanchez is a tyrant and traitor to the people of Spain. Okay. Paul A. Zippola, leave Spain, leave France, leave England, come to America where you could get shot in the face driving down the street by a crazy ICE agent. Come here, it's the best place ever. Come, you don't need health care, we have duct tape. Juanita Broderick, a sexual assault victim turned strangely protector of perpetrators of sexual assault. That's quite a career move. It's quite a career move she's made, protecting people who commit sexual assault and maligning victims of sexual assault. That's a very unusual career path for someone who's been a victim of sexual assault. But maybe if she can sleep at night, that's fine. Good grief, outrageous. And of course, Ian Miles Chong owes his entire career to Elon boosting his account in the algorithm. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez just declared war on the open internet. Under the guise of safety and accountability, his government is launching a full-scale assault on free speech, specifically targeting platforms that refuse to bend the knee to state-approved narratives. And he goes on for a while, but the relevant part is Elon's response. Sanchez is the true fascist totalitarian. It's funny because Elon said falsely labeling nonviolent people as fascist or Nazi should be treated as incitement to murder. But now he says Sanchez is the true fascist totalitarian. Not one for consistency. This is the same guy who said he never met Epstein at one point. Said he never met him. And it turns out he was begging to go to his island. And indications are he probably did go to his island. And here's Roger Stone. Is he going to call out Roger Stone as a fascist? Where is Franco when we need him? Doesn't get much more fascist than that. Where is Franco when we need him? He's being very honest about his intentions. Last I heard, Generalissimo Francisco Franco is still dead. Wall Street Maeve. Spain, Australia, and other regimes are planning to ban access to social media for minors under the age of 16. It is not about protecting minors. It is about requiring social media to identify everyone who posts their opinions so they can throw you in jail if you disagree. Okay. All right. So this is where this is a story that requires some nuance. The people who are against this are some of the worst fucking people on earth. And most of them are doing already exactly what they're complaining Spain is going to do. They just don't want the state taking that power away from them. They want that power consolidated in their own hands. You don't have to verify your identity when you get a social media account now. So all the premium users on X must now submit their government-approved ID and a selfie to X. And the company that's collecting this valuable info is Authentics, which is based out of Israel. Mossad knows everything about you now. And people are worried about TikTok. And this is, of course, before the TikTok sale to the biggest donor to the IDF, Larry Ellison. You see, this is Elon's issue. It's not that he cares about your privacy. It's that he wants your information. He wants your data. He and all of his fellow oligarchs, they don't want the state competing with their power to do exactly what he's complaining about, right? Look at that. You got an Israeli company processing your data on X. On X. Not only that, you're going to say, well, he's private. He's not in the government. He's not. He's not. He was. Whistleblower responds after DOJ confirms Doge mishandled Social Security data. What do you think Elon was doing and rifling through the government's files? What? That was an accident? That was an accident? You think that breach was an accident? The Social Security Administration says members of Elon Musk's Doge team working at the agency accessed and shared sensitive data. The latest disclosure from the Trump administration seemed to confirm some key concerns first raised in a whistleblower complaint filed by the agency's chief data officer, Chuck Borges. So what did Elon want with your data? What did Elon want with your data? Clearly, a lot of Doge was a Trojan horse to get into the government systems and hoover up your personal information. I think we can safely assume that Elon has your shit now. He has your social security number. He has your name, right? What does he want that for? Elon Musk's X begins its push in financial services with Visa deal. Elon Musk's X said it had struck a deal with Visa, the largest U.S. credit card network, to be the first partner for what it is calling the X Money account. Visa will enable X users to move funds between traditional bank accounts and their digital wallet and make instant peer-to-peer payments like with Zelle or Venmo. It's the first concrete move from X to create a financial ecosystem for the social media site. Elon Musk has talked about how he wants X to be an everything app. Look, a lot of what Elon Musk tries to do is imitate China. The robots, he's trying to imitate China. With the everything app, he's trying to imitate Alipay and WeChat. He's trying to bring those ideas here and put it under his own banner. So, all right, you're afraid of an overweening government. And hey, man, as somebody who's been on the wrong side of authority pretty much since I popped out into the world, you don't have to make an argument to me that it's dangerous to consolidate a lot of power in the hands of the state. I'm with you. This doesn't scare you?
If done right, the X would be would serve people's financial needs to such a degree that over time it would become, I don't know, maybe half of the global financial system.
Wow.
Or some big number.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the number is, but pretty big. So it would be by far the biggest sort of financial institution. But like I said, not really in the way that people are used to thinking about banks.
Mm-hmm.
Just the most efficient database for the thing that is money. Like I said, like least amount of fraud. Everything's real time. And if it involves money in any way, it can be dealt with seamlessly on one location.
All right. Now, setting aside whether that's a realistic ambition or not, this is what he wants. He wants X to evolve into an everything app that represents 50% of the financial system. So if you find what Sanchez just said a terrifying invasion of privacy and expansion of state power, why doesn't that scare you? This is my point. This is not an argument between people like Elon who care about your freedom and your privacy. There's an argument between oligarch acting as the state, as the de facto state, being mad about a state acting as the state. That's the real disagreement here. These people don't care about your personal privacy or your personal well-being. And let's not forget who Elon actually works for, right? We don't know what he did on that island, but it must have been a doozy. Does anyone believe that Elon would have put that kippah on and done the humiliation tour if they didn't have anything on him? You think this is just yeah, Elon just sincerely wanted to put the kippah on and kowtow to Ben Shapiro. Yeah, he just wanted to do that. Come on. On the other hand here, Spanish lawmakers have passed a law halting all arms, defense equipment, and technology trade with Israel over its genocide in Gaza. So I got to say, for Elon Musk, servant of the Mossad, to be going and trashing Spain in that way, I don't think he's really in a position to be doing that. And let's not forget, we did a story on this last week, Stu Peters. While our accounts are being throttled, Ben Shapiro is being amplified on X. That's why I say that part I agree with. I would be all for making it illegal to manipulate the algorithms. I think we all would, right? We'd all be against that. The danger of the state deciding what is hate speech. I mean, illegal speech, if you didn't expand the definition of that, we already have that, like threats and murder and, child stuff and all that. If that's what he means, okay, all right. But we know how that can go when the state starts deciding what you can and can't express. Add a Lutch. In Spain, from now on, if you are 16 years old or younger, you won't be able to have social media. However, you will still be able to castrate yourself with hormones. It always goes back to that, right? And abort your baby. Common sense is dead. Now, I actually looked into this because several European countries, as we've discussed, have actually banned those treatments for under 16s, except in cases of tests and studies and that kind of thing. Spain is not one of them, but the guidance is strongly to only do medical interventions over 16. And to get it under 16, you have to go through a big process with doctors and psychologists. Look, I personally still don't agree with it, but just to make the point, it's not so easy to get that done if you're under 16 there. But that's not the point. I'm glad you brought this up. Okay, so all of the trans stuff is supposed to be about caring about children, right? You care about the well-being of children. You don't want children to face irreversible consequences for decisions they don't have the maturity to make. Here's Elon talking about that subject. This is a major problem. I will be actively lobbying to criminalize making severe, irreversible changes to children below the age of consent. Shame on those who advocate this. It is utterly contemptible. Okay, so we all agree that children need special protections from institutions that may not have their best interests at heart and from making decisions that they can't possibly be mature enough to make for themselves. Now, you could make the argument that this is kind of funny that Elon takes this stance because, as Scary Larry points out, if I didn't know any better, I'd say Elon Musk has been taking gender-affirming surgery, right? Look at this guy, the real Thelma Johnson. Someone needs to tell Elon Musk that the hair transplant, the jawline surgery, and the supplemental testosterone he has talked about are all examples of gender-affirming care. Yeah, look, Elon is trans. He's trans. Look at him on the right. Look at him on the left. He's a trans man. Look at that troll on the right. Look at that. Ugh. He looks like a Stedman caricature there. But hey, kids who use social media score lower on reading and memory tests, a study shows. It's doing irreversible damage to children. Quote, what was notable actually to me and perhaps surprising was that even the low increasing social media users, so those who had about 1 hour a day by age 13, did perform on average 1 to 2 points lower on the reading and memory tasks compared to the non-social media users, says pediatrician Jason Nagata of the University of California, San Francisco. And the high increasing group performed up to 4 to 5 points lower than the non-social media users. So, quote, so those who had the highest social media use have lower scores, notes Nagata, but even the low users had smaller differences in their cognitive scores. So it's causing brain damage. It's causing brain damage for them to be using social media. So you care so much about protecting kids from a medical industry that is having them make irreversible changes to their body. Well, this exposure to these screens is causing them damage. So they, by the same logic you're applying to the gender medicine, this, you agree with this ban, right? Because I personally do. I've said this for a very long time. It's very obvious that this is damaging to young people, that these platforms are designed to be addictive. They're designed to eliminate impulse control with constant dopamine hits. Of course, that's not good for kids. It's obvious on the face of it. It's literally, to me, a no-brainer. What does too much screen time do to children's brains? There is emerging evidence that there may be some structural brain changes associated with greater exposure to screen time as a young child, says Dr. Jennifer F. Cross, attending pediatrician and a developmental and behavioral pediatrics expert at New York Presbyterian Kamansky Children's Hospital. Quote, if young children spend most of their time engaging with an iPad, smartphone, or the television, all of which are highly entertaining, it can be hard to get them engaged in non-electronic activities, such as playing with toys to foster imagination and creativity, exploring outdoors, and playing with other children to develop appropriate social skills. And you know what's really funny about this? You know, people like Elon who go on and on about woke and, an RFK, and the kids are, not robust and not physical. Yeah, man, I think that has less to do with woke than the technology that you make your fucking profit from. But you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about cultural issues that are not going to hurt your bottom line as a distraction, because I would say the fact that, yeah, they love to show these pictures of what men used to look like, and, these kind of stunted, no muscle mass kids now. Well, don't you think that has more to do with them sitting there all day doing that instead of going out and playing some sports with their friends than it has to do with wokeness? Brain damage, literally brain damage. Screen usage linked to differences in brain structure in young children. They're finding it thins the cerebral cortex, which has a lot to do with executive decision making, like self-control, right? They love libs of TikTok. They love to show these kids having meltdowns. Well, why are they having those Why are they like that? Yeah, there's definitely been a personality change. Why? This is why. I would argue this is why. And hey, for a guy who cares about children, whatever you think the reality is, went to the island, didn't go to the island. At this point, 2012, Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted PDF file, a convicted sex trafficker. Sex with a girl under 18 under federal laws, by definition, sex trafficking. Somebody passed that on to Matt Taibbi. How many people will you be for the heli to island? Probably just Tallulah and me. What day and night will be the wildest party on your island? Well, that's pretty funny for a guy who cares about kids. He doesn't care about kids. He doesn't care about your kids. He doesn't give a shit. So here's somebody who I think summed it up pretty well, but again, I do have reservations about this. Crypto Simin, but I think his overall point is right. PM Pedro Sanchez is 100. Some people are saying that the state is now parenting. No, that is not true. The state is not parenting. The state's role isn't to be a parent, but to be a legislator. Legislation exists to ensure that the environment in which we live is safe and fair. Just as we have building codes to ensure houses don't collapse and food safety laws to prevent poisoning, we need digital guardrails. We shouldn't leave society's well-being at the mercy of profit-driven algorithms that are specifically designed to bypass human willpower. That's the part I agree with. This isn't about the state parenting. It's about the state ensuring that businesses cannot exploit the developmental vulnerabilities of children for profit. All right, so to briefly unpack this, I think the child ban is just obvious. I've been saying this for years. Like, of course, we've had enough information for quite a while now that it is literally causing brain damage. Of course, you don't want to give that to kids. That is not taking away freedom. We don't let kids do a lot of things. We don't let kids smoke. We don't let them drink alcohol. You have enough evidence at this point that this is damaging to literally, you're altering somebody's whole destiny when you damage their brain like that. Isn't that your issue with the gender medicine? I don't see how you could be against the one and not support a ban like this for under 16s using social media. Of course it's fucking them up psychologically, emotionally, cognitively. Yes, that I think is, I don't even see why there would be a debate about that. Getting into the holding people accountable for their platform. Like I said, the algorithm part, I think we would all support that, right? Like if you made it illegal to manipulate the algorithm has to be neutral. I would be all for that. It's getting into define, and if you say you're going to hold them accountable for having illegal speech that's already illegal, which generally, is going to be threats of violence and that kind of thing, even that doesn't bother me. If you're going to start to get into deciding that what is hate speech, yeah, that's dangerous, but understand that these oligarchs are doing that already. You're talking about a battle between who controls those definitions on these platforms. You're not talking about platforms that are not already manipulating your perception and your experience. It's just right now, it's oligarchs essentially taking the powers of the state. That's what this is really about. Now, the internet and digital technology and social media, it happens so fast, as often happens with new technology. The regulations have not caught up to it. Does anybody really think that the way that it's going is okay? Like that's why I included that last tweet. He's right. Like these platforms don't care at all about the public good. And under our system, corporations by definition don't, right? You could get sued by your stockholders for not pursuing profit, right? So it is for the state to step in and regulate. It's a question of how they go about doing that. The idea of the state doing it is not by definition a bad thing. And also remember, these voices speaking out about it, principally Elon and his flying monkeys, they're not honest actors. Everything they're accusing Spain of wanting to do, they're doing. They just don't want the power to do that to you themselves taken away from them.
Well, the other thing that I think people can sometimes lose track of when we're talking about, like, these debates over these, European governments or some kind, in the case of Brazil, there's, more state censorship than we as Americans are sort of comfortable with. We did the story about them going after the Brazilian comic, which of course I'm not for. for making jokes, and obviously, in states without a sort of codified First Amendment the way we have here, it's always kind of alarming to us to see, well, the state is going to decide what is and what is not hate speech, and they're going to impose legal penalties on people for speech and stuff like that. So, all right, let's just make the point and then set aside the fact that here we have a First Amendment, but the DOJ can sue you if they find out you're anti-Semitic, right? I mean, like they can always just institute an exception to that when they feel like it, right? As they've done, so Harvard and all these places. But I think the bigger point is that we have to understand. When it comes to like China, it's pretty obvious that like the Chinese state has a different arrangement with its people than we have here. Like there's state censorship in China, but you know what? There's no homeless people in China. There's no extreme poverty in China. So the bargain is, there's things you can and cannot say, but you know what? Everybody's going to get a roof over their head. Everybody's going to get medicine when they need it, right? You're not going to suffer the kinds of material deprivation that you might suffer in a place like the United States, where you're free to talk as much shit as you want, asterisk, as long as Pam Bondi thinks it's okay. But you also have to understand, like in Europe, there's sort of a modified version of that. Like these European countries have basic social democratic reforms. Like you have free health care throughout Europe. You have free child care throughout Europe. You have lots of government guaranteed, government backed paid family leave throughout Europe. So the arrangement they make with their people is a little different. The reason why we don't have any of those things here in America is because our government insists that to give you free childcare is to make the state too big, and guess what? That would infringe upon your freedom, right? So when the state does something that infringes upon our freedom of speech, it's especially offensive to us as Americans. Why? Because we're not given any of the material goodies, right? Like you say, okay, so I'm not guaranteed health care, not guaranteed a roof over my head. I get no child care support from the state, no paid family leave from the state, and now you're going to tell me I can't say whatever I want? Like the price of that material deprivation is that I at least get to run my fat fucking mouth, right? So when they censor here, it's in violation of that arrangement. Like my ability to speak my mind in whichever way I want outside of certain, obviously exceptions of threats of violence and whatnot, that is a real part of the bargain. In Europe, the bargain is a little bit different. So when they do things like this, like, I'm not for it. Like, I'm definitely not for it. But I'm not for it probably because I'm an American. Like if I live there, the bargain is different, and it's on people to change that if they don't like it. Like we seem to see that when the contrast is as stark as like the United States and North Korea. But we don't tend to notice that when it's the difference between the United States and a country like Spain, where if you have a baby, you get a lot of time off to be with your baby, right? You don't have to go back to where you have to jump in an Uber 10 days after you give birth so that you can feed the baby, right? So it's a different arrangement. So like, I don't like that kind of censorship, but you know what? That's for the people of Spain to like work out. Like, who are we to be fucking barking at? Like, who are we to be judging that, really?
Right. Yeah. And again, Elon and company speaking out about this, it's like the person who owns the factory farm telling you vegetarians are evil, right? Like it's a completely self-interested argument. Everything he's complaining about the Spain's going to do, he's doing. That's his issue. He does not, and it's not just him, but he's been the most out front about this particular issue.
That's the other thing that's really
bleak. All of them. These oligarchs don't want a state check on their power. Right. The idea that you're going to go and be manipulated into backing oligarchs because they're defending your freedom is ridiculous. You can legitimately, and I do, have issues with some of what he's saying, although I agree with you. It's not my country. I mean, that's their business. They elected him, right? And actually, that wasn't included in this article, but 82% of people in Spain agree with banning this for children under 16.
So there you
so
go.
you believe in democracy?
So that's it.
82% support that.
That's right. That is the deal that the people of Spain made with the government. Right? Like that's their deal. That's what they got set up there. Like it's not on, you know, it's not on us to interfere in that. We can have our opinion about it, sure, but I think it's important to like qualify that opinion with the realization that, hey, you know what? They got a different arrangement over there. They have a different arrangement over there. There's a different bargain that everyone buys into over there. That's a very important thing to keep in mind when it comes to all of this stuff. Like, okay, you have to think about the overall relationship between the individual and the state. In America, it's every man for himself, sink or swim, fuck you, pay me. In exchange for that, we are afforded the freedom to talk shit. Right. And so when they tell us we can't talk shit, well, now they're really violating the terms because they're not giving us any health care. Right. So I think that's important. And as for the point about Elon, yeah, that's the thing that's really bleak about this. And this is the thing. I mean, this became very apparent very quickly. None of these people care about anything. These are complete nihilists. None of these people care about your right to free speech. They have no concern for your quality of life or your children's quality of life. It is completely nihilistic, this whole economic landscape, particularly in the tech sector, obviously. All right. You want to take some super chats over there? I got to copy over some stuff here, I think.
All right.
I'm almost caught up. Yep.
And also, last point, you could just cut that a little bit. I brought up the Israel thing, to illustrate. So somebody said in the chat at the beginning, well, Russ was talking about moving to Spain. Haha. You know what, man? I'd be fine in Spain. My biggest concern is being able to speak about Palestine and Israel.
Right.
Look at Elon. Look at Elon. Where am I more likely to get banned? On X or in Spain under what? I'm not under 16.
Right.
Like what speech do I do that would get banned under what they're proposing? I'm more likely to get banned by Elon, who's being puppeteered by the Mossad.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's where I am in danger. If you were on social media in the 2 weeks before the Mamdani election, yo, man, that was just Zionist hell, man. The whole algorithm was flooded. He got the call, and they told him to do that, and it was just all Islamophobia and Zionism. So that's the person who's going to protect you from an overweening state. I mean, given a choice between the two, I will take the country that all the way back in, I think, it was like mid 2024, they banned sending weapons to Israel.
Right. Exactly.
I just wanted to add that.
All
right. Matt from Wisconsin. Every time I tune in, Russ is talking about something risky he did and is planning something even riskier. Next week, listen, man, before I book my flight home, I have to climb to the top of Japan to pay 101. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. Listen, man, there's what I would consider reasonable risk and unreasonable risk. I don't feel like you have to just keep double daring yourself. Like, what will I never do? I won't skydive. Like, the juice is not worth the squeeze for me.
Yeah.
Of that, it's too risky. Yeah, man, what you're talking about, mountain climbing? What the fuck, man? I'm not going to die in an avalanche. Fuck that shit. Like, it's not worth it to me. Like, that's a level of risk that for what I would get out of it, it's not worth it for me.
Right.
A lot of these things, they're not that risky, but mentally they fuck with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I picked the company that has been certified by the aeronautics. It's the only company like that. And, it's not enormous risk, but in your mind, it's an enormous risk. Mill Raven. Tens of thousands of people in the U.S. file taxes using deceased citizens' social security numbers. I suspect our immigration crisis is largely a bipartisan scam to steal social security withholding. That's interesting. Theodora Loro. General strike already. Shut it down. Good day. Yep, I'm with you. My friend from Buffalo, Richard Namulala. Schools do not teach cursive. They want useless people. I know. It's crazy to me. Like they're having a problem in academia because of that. Because they got history students can't read the old documents because they don't know how to read cursive. That's amazing to me. I don't know why they would have. I don't get what the rationale was for that. Hangyan, ISIS qualifications, played Call of Duty in school. I saw a comedian. She said, the way that we'll beat the millennials or the Zers is we'll write our plans in cursive on a map.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Jolly Man, Big Boy. M. Tracy has to meticulously comb 3 million pages for irregularities in the investigation. Give him some credit, people. That's why he's silent. Well, he reemerged.
No, he's not silent. He reemerged.
He reemerged. He's back.
He's back. I'm telling you, man, like, I don't know this, obviously, but, he's always struck me as kind of a troll at heart. I wouldn't be surprised if he just stayed off of Twitter for 6 days, on purpose, just to think, hey, I'll get everybody asking about me. I mean, who knows? It seems like something you would do just to troll people.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go dark and make everybody wonder where I am. It was kind of helpful to his brand in a way. Built up some anticipation. When's he going to come back out? But he's back. He's back. One thing about people protesting, says Vianticus Prime, they're bringing their phones and getting geofenced by a digital camera. Buy a digital camera if you can. Of course, we know that. We know that for sure, 100%. Vianticus says, I love how people like Megyn Kelly consider the pinnacle action of American freedom as cowering in your home.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Judy Denmark, watching it all in disbelief. There are Americans who approve of ICE. There are Americans who aren't concerned about Trump references in the Epstein files. What the fuck? Do I have a head injury? No, you are a Dane. The Danish people are smart. So this doesn't really occur to you how a country could be this stupid, but it's possible. It really is. Kurt and Jimmy are really in the Epstein files. Is that true? Like, do their names come up incidentally, like in a link? Like, hey, there's somebody email about Jimmy. Kurt is proud and brags about it. He says it means he's important. I guess this is the 21st century version of Googling yourself. You could just see if you're in the Epstein files. You just trying to look yourself up in the Epstein files. It's interesting. I didn't hear that. Is that true that he brags about it? I can't wait for it to be required that all children have digital. I mean, it's true. I mean, your name could be incidentally in the Epstein files. Your name could come up somewhere, I can't wait for it to be required that all children have digital IDs for their protection, of course. Not at all to be able to browse profiles for kidnap at all. Vianticus Prime, girl power, white power, state power. People pay too much to the adjective and not enough to the noun. The noun is telling you what the speaker desires, not the adjective. Very philosophical mood today, Vianticus. I'm not certain I could agree that social media causes actual brain damage. Instead, I think it's more accurate to say that people are not getting beneficial mental exercise for strengthening. According to what he seems
that's,
to...
that's a distinction without a difference. Like, if you use it at that age, it's good. I mean, actually, there's also studies that it's causing brain damage in adults. But obviously, that's not as severe because your brain's already formed.
Right.
But with it actually thins out the cerebral cortex. And in terms of, I didn't get too into this, in terms of the idea, it's bringing digital ID. Are you fucking kidding me? You think they don't have you all tracked on the grid now?
Oh, yeah,
like, you think you have privacy now? You think they don't have you scoped now? Like, they need to do this as a way to find out about you and where you are. If you are using these, they got you. They got you. They don't need to do all that.
All right, let's move right on along to the Epstein files. Bill Gates is up first.
Okay. Melinda Gates, back in 2022, it's about a year after her divorce was finalized, gave an interview with Gayle King in which she described the one time that she met Jeffrey Epstein.
Reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, you know, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
You felt that the moment you walked in? I didn't
He was
realize
awful.
that. Yeah. And you shared that with Bill, and he still continued to spend time with him?
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Okay.
But I made it very clear how I felt about him.
So that's pretty interesting, man. And honestly, I take her at her word because a dude who is that evil, they're going to tend to vibe that way. And unless you're on that frequency, they're going to creep you out. They're going to creep you out. You're going to feel that. So if you're like the kind of pervert who married his wife's adopted daughter, who he was probably illegally, I can't imagine the day she turned 18. That started with Sun Yi. Then it's like Dracula's castle. It's very interesting here.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going to bother you, man. But if you're a normal person, as she seems to be, more or less, yeah, you're going to meet that guy. It's going to make your skin crawl, man. You're not going to resonate with that. So Alec Lace. Breaking. Epstein emails allege Bill Gates caught an STD from Russian girls and begged Epstein for secret antibiotics to dose Melinda without her knowing. Fast forward. Melinda divorced him in 2021, citing his Epstein ties. Now she's worth $29.6 billion. Yeah, that kind of worked out for her in the end. STDs aside. As long as she didn't get the herp, she's all right. So Epstein, it looked like he was experimenting with different draft emails to Bill Gates. You know, something happened that got him in high dudgeon. So he emailed these things to himself, seemingly so that he'd save the text, possibly for sending later. That's what it looks like. So this is one. I have decided to resign my position effective immediately with BG3 and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I have not come to this decision quickly or without a great deal of thought. During the past few weeks, I have been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. So presumably this is when she started turning the screws on Gates. And he probably started trying to get some distance from Epstein under that pressure. I have the greatest respect for my friend of 7 years and wish them both well. See, Epstein was kind of a moron. Like, look at the poor grammar and syntax there for what he's trying to say. I have the greatest respect for my friend of 7 years, friends. It's friends of 7 years, and wish them both well. In my role as his right hand, I have been asked and wrongly acquiesced into participating in things that have ranged from the morally inappropriate, that's your writing for an audience, to the ethically unsound, and have been repeatedly asked to do things that get near and potentially over the line into the illegal. Though it was kindly suggested that I make a transition to a new position after my 6 years of servitude, and that Bill would, in his words, give me 2 years severance pay. Like, this is so badly written. I feel it would be dishonest to myself and my future. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments, as I am a medical doctor but have no prescriptions writing ability, as I am not, I guess he meant, or as if I'm a medical doctor. This guy was really not the brightest. But again, so that was his first attempt. Then he wrote another one that's much more like, "Oh, just cast me aside like an old shoe, sir. If I was you, I would offer me the world." It's very, very aggrieved, the second one, much more emotional. But to highlight, to add insult to the injury, you them implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD, your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your penis. You also made it clear to me that I am not to refer to redacted, as that is another topic that must remain between the two of us. In return for all of these requests, which I would have done without a second thought, I am not to attend meetings with Melinda. I should continue to provide you the same level of service and dedication that I have done so diligently until you are ready to discard me and our friendship. Yeah, so Bill Gates, and we'll see this a little later, he would have you believe that Jeffrey Epstein, sat down and clearly was like working through exactly how to approach this, and he was just making it all up. He was going through this very recognizably human process of like, well, what do I want to say to him? I'm really mad. No, that's too much, right?
Right.
But it was all made up, really. So she went on. This is this week. She went on NPR and dropped a couple of bangers.
For me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage. But I have moved on from that. I purposely pushed it away and I moved on. I'm in a really unexpected, beautiful place in my life. So whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
Well,
and I am so happy to be away from all the muck.
I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles.
Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life. And I hope there's some justice for those now women, right? We see them standing up in front of microphones in D.C. What they went through is just unimaginable, I think.
And then the interviewer went on to ask her about this STD story.
Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat a sexually transmitted infection, and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing. His representative has said all of this is false. It is not on you to have to respond to the details of that alleged behavior, but I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles with these details.
Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth, right? And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life.
Yeah, it's as close as you're going to get to her saying, "Oh yeah, he did that shit." Oh yeah, she's staying on the right side of litigation. He has to answer that.
Right. Well, of course.
I feel really bad for those girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't answer that. That's for Bill to answer. But those girls, yeah, it's terrible what happened to them. So he finally answered.
Maybe that's what's in the COVID vaccine. Maybe we all have Bill Gates's cum in us now. Maybe that's what
Bill
that was
Gates'
about.
STD.
Maybe the vaccine was all a cover for this. We're all in the same boat now, everybody.
Well, there is actually one with him and Epstein talking about pandemic preparedness and stuff in 2019. So here he is. He went on Australian TV.
There's a case for RFK to look into.
This.
We're looking into whether or not you have Bill Gates' semen in your shoulder.
After much investigation at the Health and Human Services, we have found that everyone has been inseminated by Bill Gates, and you're going to be shitting out his love child probably around 2030 if you took the vaccine in April of 2021. Later edition did not have it.
The Genghis Khan of our time.
All right, so this is what he said about this.
Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that. It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
It hasn't exactly gone that way, has it?
Yeah. Okay. Well. Listen, I gotta say, man, we talked about for our New Year's Eve award, we should have given Taylor Lorenz a Most Improved award.
Right.
Bill Gates, if I had seen this, he would have been a nominee for Most Improved because he's practiced that answer quite a lot since the last time we saw him give it. Let's take a look at that classic clip of Bill Gates saying very similar things to what he said here, but with a look like he's holding in an enormous turd on his face the entire time.
Cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continue to meet with him over several years, and that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so in general, you always have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
And I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy. Very proud of the work of the foundation. That's what I get up every day and focus on.
Yeah, that's what you call telling the truth by accident. True. He didn't know how to respond. He's shitting himself, and he accidentally told the truth. He's dead, so you have to be careful.
Gotta be careful.
But you could see in the second clip, he practiced that. He probably sat down with a coach. How are you going to answer this when you get this question? He basically said the same thing, but much less panicked. Much less literal hand wringing. That's just nothing new on that at all.
Yeah.
Can we talk about something else? But yeah, man. I mean, obviously he did some shit. Melinda knew who her husband was. You put all that together. She met Jeffrey Epstein. She put two and two together, said there's no good reason that my husband is hanging out with a dude like that. And,
I mean, look,
she
if
she got out of the situation, man.
I mean, you have to just ask yourself, okay, if he didn't do anything, you think she would say he didn't do anything, right? Like
Of course.
if he were clean, you'd think she would say that, right? Because, divorced or not. And it sounds like his relationship with Epstein was a big source of their problems.
Right.
Then,
Why
she
would that
say,
have been that kind of an issue in their marriage?
Right. Like she would be actively shutting these rumors down if he were not guilty of something. Like that interview was just from right now, right? I mean, that's a recent interview on NPR. So now that these rumors are intensifying, if there were no there, she'd be trying to shut them down. She'd be saying, look, I didn't like that he was friends with the guy. I thought that was really offensive and a bridge too far to stay married to him. But I don't think he did but she doesn't say that. She does.
No.
She issues no denial or no defense at all in that regard. And that's because her husband is, of course, extraordinarily wealthy and she doesn't want to get sued. So that's clearly what that's
That's
about.
for him to answer.
Right. That's for him
I feel
to
bad
answer.
for those girls. That's as far as she could go.
Exactly.
Without risking a lawsuit. But yeah, look, I mean, it's obvious he did some shit. You don't panic like that when you get that kind of question as he did before. He's obviously been very coached since that. I think that's like 2 years ago now, that interview. And yeah, the way that she's answering that, and we know she partly left him because of Epstein. You wouldn't leave him because of Epstein if you just had some dinners with Epstein. That's more than that.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, but that was what I'm saying. Like, I think if Epstein creeped her out to the extent that she did, and she really suspected there was horrible shit, I could see you may leave your husband if he insists on being friends with this truly foul and odious and malevolent person. Like, I could see that affecting your marriage. What I can't see is when the rumors about him start heating up in light of these files. Like, if that was as far as it went, I would think you would make that clear. Like, you would say, no, like, look, I left him over Epstein because the guy was a total creep and it was creeping me out that he was friends with him, but he's not a criminal. He didn't do anything. But she's not saying that. She's not covering at all for him in that way. So, I think it looks very bad. I like this. The COVID Felch 2 the COVID Felch 2 vaccine. Thank you, Eric Cuso. Appreciate that. Good one. All right, folks, a little game break here. Going to tell you about The Grifter's Bible, which is a mind-bending novel by El Shabooms, and it's now a free weekly series on YouTube with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. Follow the First Electric Church of Jesus Christ as they combine the bleeding edge of black patented neuroscience with the state-of-the-art in Michigas to beat the Great Recession. They sell visions of God to the huddled masses of Deep Ellum, Texas, and the money pours in until the local competition, the police, and the U.S. Navy decide to put a stop to it. There's ass whoopings, car chases, and a showdown at high noon on Good Friday in Dodge City. It's sci-fi noir. It's a picaresque thriller. It's a Western from 10 minutes in the future. It's The Grifter's Bible, a film series by El Shabooms with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. New episodes drop every Monday at youtube.com/@ El Shabooms. So make sure you go over there and subscribe to the channel and check out new episodes every Monday. All righty. I want to take some super chats over there. Got a few.
All right. Heinz Ryman, Spain ends anonymity online. It's for our best. What anonymity online do you think you have? Do you think you have anonymity online now? Like, do you believe that? They could find you in 5 fucking seconds. Yeah. I promise you. Truth Seeker. Whatever happened to Tom Homan's bribery charge taking $50,000? It's no Epstein Files, but it's pretty damn corrupt. Yeah, I remember that. Did we cover that?
I think so. A while back. Seems like years ago.
Seems like Truth Seeker. I know you guys joke about it a lot, but I seriously think this Epstein shit is going to drive some serious anti-Semitism repercussions. And I mean real anti-Semitism, not just anti-Zionism, which is merely wanting justice. Wait,
why? Because they're calling people goyim in the Epstein Files? No, because they're saying let the goyim live in the real world. Yeah, no, this is what I was talking about with Jimmy last night.
Of course, we agree with you 100%.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about with Jimmy last night. Like, you know, and I said this. You know, I said, like, look, I don't condone bigotry at the same time, it's understandable given the messaging from the media that to oppose genocide is to be an anti-Semite, and that this is all conspiratorial nonsense, what we're seeing in the Epstein files. It's not unforgivable that people would be confused into developing animosity toward Jews. I don't like it. I'm Jewish myself. Right. I don't condone it. But I think, and I do think, the Jewish community has to do a much, much better job of speaking out against this stuff. Where are Jewish institutions when Pam Bondi goes up there and proudly brags that we're suing anti-Zionist, student groups on college campuses? Where are the Jewish institutions saying, no, this is not what we stand for? There's silence. Like, you're just leaving a vacuum. Like, that's not acceptable. Like, you have to speak out against this. You have to make it clear that you're against this, assuming you are against it. And a lot of Jewish institutions are not against it. That's the dirty little secret. And so that's the point that I was trying to make last night.
80% of Jews, American Jews, support the state of Israel.
Right.
80%.
Exactly.
Liberal is a question of whether you support expanding the settlements.
Right.
If you're against that, you're like a liberal.
Exactly. When it comes to this Epstein shit, it's clear not only was he a Zionist, but he was clearly a Jewish supremacist. Clear. What is it? Let the goyim live in the real world, something like that. What are you saying?
That is much more common than they want you to know.
Exactly. So I talked about that with Jimmy last night. So yes, I agree with you, Truth Seeker. Appreciate that. All right, what do we got here? Eric Rousseau, the self-isolation caused by electronic media is not a bug, but a feature for the ruling class. No more extended families, no more nuclear families. They want us isolated and alone to control us. I think that is pretty accurate.
Yeah, like the idea that they're concerned about isolated teens, like their technology has not done more to create isolated teens than anything ever invented in the history of humankind.
Right, exactly. Nina Kant, we could say the same thing about food. They're profiting off making cheap food and our kids and adults getting sick and their lives being affected, of course. Absolutely.
Well, yes.
Will we see Kung Fu Russell at the Shaolin Temple? There you go. On the third day, Michael Tracy Rose. It was the sixth day. I think it was the seventh day.
Yeah,
actually.
So it took a while.
Kevin G says, if Dr. Shiva really invented email as he claimed, he would probably be in the Epstein files, but he's not in the files, so he's lying. Old Stoner, segments like this are just making bank from the abuse of kids. It's fucking evil. What's that? What segments like what?
Which segment?
Yeah, the Epstein
Fest segment? I thought that's like all of them, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. By that definition, what, we're supposed to not cover the Gaza genocide either? I mean, all the news is hurting kids.
Yeah.
I thought the COVID vaccine was a concoction of billionaire cum. Personally, thank you. Fantastic Prime, you were way ahead of us on that. Fantastic Prime's like, yeah. What else is new? Tell me something I don't know. All right. Let's move right on along here. All right, folks. So here's some juicy stuff. Clinton's reached deal with House Republicans to testify, likely avoiding contempt charges. Bill and Hillary Clinton will appear before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee in closed-door interviews on February 27th and 26th, respectively, meeting at, I thought it was the 28th. That might be a typo, but they're meeting separately on 2 different days, which means they have to make sure that they lie in the exact same way. Otherwise, they're going to get caught. Meeting a noon deadline imposed by GOP leadership to avoid being held in contempt of Congress. Their former president and secretary of state have long sought to negotiate the terms of their cooperation with the panel's investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and argued the congressional subpoenas compelling their testimony were invalid and designed to humiliate or put them in jail. So, yeah, this is kind of what we're talking about here. These are some recent photos of Bill Clinton that have emerged in recent Epstein Files releases, as well as this one. Now, this is as far as we can tell is a joke, but you know, I'm always down for a good joke. I like jokes, and so here's a good joke as part of the Epstein Files. So the joke begins. Hillary Clinton goes to her doctor for a checkup, only to find out that she's pregnant. She's furious. Here she is in the middle of dealing with this Libyan mess. Now this has happened to her. She calls home, she gets Bill on the phone, and immediately starts screaming, "You bastard! How could you have let this happen? With all that's going on right now, you go and get me pregnant? How could you? I can't believe this. I've just found out I'm 5 weeks pregnant, and it's all your fault." "Well, what have you got to say?" A moment of silence. She screams again, "Did you hear me?" Finally, she hears Bill's very, very quiet voice in a barely audible whisper. "Who's speaking?" Ha, get it? See? Some good comedy in the Epstein Files. It's not all bad. It's not all darkness. It's a clever...
These are the jokes, people.
These are the jokes. These are the jokes. That's a clever Clinton joke in the Epstein Files. Very clever. They ultimately decided not to comply with the subpoenas and skipped out on their scheduled depositions last month, at which point the committee moved to hold both in contempt. The Clintons reversed course Monday night as the House was in the process of teeing up contempt resolutions for floor votes as soon as Wednesday, which could have resulted in their incarceration by the Trump Justice Department. It's likely that a significant number of Democrats would have joined Republicans in voting to hold the Clintons in contempt should the House have gone forward with that process. This is an interesting quote. "We've made public commitments to both survivors and the country that no matter if you're Democrat or Republican, we're going to investigate this to the ends of the earth," said Representative Maxwell Frost, who sits on the oversight panel and voted in committee last week to hold Bill Clinton in contempt. Now, I don't know exactly when Maxwell Frost was born, but I know he is one of the youngest members of Congress, and this is what Russ and I have been talking about. It seems like the younger you are, the more all in you're going on this. Because, young Democrat is like, fuck Bill Clinton. I'm a young guy, and I have my whole future in front of me here. We're just going to trust that, hey, we're too young to be in the files, so what the hell? So it gets a little more interesting here. Hillary Clinton tweets out, "This morning, for 6 months, we engaged Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know under oath. They ignored all of it. They moved the goalposts and turned accountability into an exercise in distraction. So let's stop the games. If you want this fight, James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. We will be there." Well, I have to say...
I could see why she has that confidence. She does so well in public hearings. She charms the pants off the public.
Yes, indeed. And I just have to say, as a professional podcaster, I endorse this plan 100%. I think that is an excellent idea. That is the best idea I've heard in a long time, is to have Hillary Clinton be deposed publicly, yes, on camera, ideally live streamed, ideally on a copyright-free live stream that perhaps we could sit in on with the show. I think that's a really, really good idea. In fact, that's probably the best idea Hillary Clinton's had her entire life.
Yeah, as a man with 3 mouths to feed.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably her best idea ever. So you would think the Clintons are finally locked in. They're testifying. They're testifying separately, which means if they make anything up, they're much more likely to get caught since they're not going to be sitting side by side where they'll be able to piggyback off of each other's bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. So they got them. So you would think the Republicans have them in a pretty compromised position. You would think Donald Trump will be super excited about this, right? We're finally going to lock her up, which is what he promised to do when he was running against her. So let's see. He must be really excited about this. What do you guys think?
That the Clintons set deposition dates to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Any reaction to that and related to the Epstein?
I think it's a shame, to be honest.
I'm sorry, wait, what? It's a shame. What was that? I thought you'd be so excited. I mean, how could you not be thrilled about this?
Today we heard.
Did we hear that correctly? Let's hear it again.
Dates to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Any reaction to that and related to the Epstein?
I think it's a shame, to be honest.
Shame.
I always liked him. Her, yeah. She's a very capable woman. She was.
He never made me swallow.
She was smart woman. I hate to see it in many ways. I hate to see it, but then I look at me. They went after me like, they wanted me to go to jail for the rest of my life. Then it turned out I was innocent, very innocent.
All right. There are some rumors that Donald Trump is not all with it anymore. He's getting old. And people have speculated that he may be losing it a little bit. So let's see. He gets this question again. Let's see if maybe that was just a miscommunication of some kind.
The story today, I don't know if you saw it, that the Democrats are already saying if you bring President Bill Clinton and he has to testify, we're bringing President Trump. What do you say to that?
I think they might say that, but they've already brought me. See, I've been brought. They had me indicted many times. Many times.
And the president had some surprising thoughts about former President Bill Clinton.
It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I like everybody who may know something that I don't want anybody else to know about me as it pertains to my old friend Jeffrey Epstein, whether it's Ghislaine Maxwell, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. These are the best people I know. Notice that the only people he has any kind words for are the people in the periphery of Jeffrey Epstein alongside him. He's a vicious asshole to everybody else, except... See, there's a lesson, folks. If you want to get on Donald Trump's good side, you have to develop some kind of relationship with Jeffrey Epstein or his surviving family members, right? Because that is the way to Donald Trump's heart, is just get yourself some sort of Kevin Bacon-like association with Jeffrey Epstein, and he's more likely to sing your praises. So yeah, here he is.
President Bill Clinton.
It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton.
I
still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that said very famously that you don't want to run against Trump when there were 18 people. There was 18 people, including me.
And
total.
you still love him because of that. you still think fondly of him because he said you don't want to run against Trump. Really interesting. Yeah. Who's buying that, by a show of hands in the chat? We're going to take you back to 2015 when Donald Trump was a candidate for president. But at this time, I'm sure he figured, no way the country is crazy enough to actually elect me president, so I can just kind of talk this way without ever having to make good on it. Here he is referring to Bill Clinton as having some big problems about that island.
Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Oh, of course, at the time he said that, he probably thought, hey, I'm never going to be president, so what the hell? Trolling is trolling. It's all good fun. But yeah, here he is.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
All right, so we've seen how he's acted when questioned about Bill and Hillary Clinton. It's a shame that they're bringing him in to testify. I like the both of them. Bill Clinton, he always understood me. Very nice man. Very nice man when he's talking about anyone in these Epstein files.
A bottom.
Yeah.
And
right,
Bill,
exactly.
he was the best top. He topped me like nobody else. Donald, you spread those cheeks there. Daddy's coming home and he has needs.
Daddy has needs. He was the original Daddy has needs. I don't know if anybody knew that. It all started with him. But yeah, so you saw, just a puppy dog when it comes to Bill and Hillary Clinton, when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell, anyone implicated in the Epstein files, he seems to have a real fondness for. Reporters who ask him about the victims of the Epstein files, not so much. Here he is in beast mode.
Something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile.
Well, I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
10 years? You known her for 10 years? Is she in the Epstein files?
Yeah, exactly.
She's not been around for like 2 years. Is she in there somewhere?
She kind of, I don't watch CNN, but I've kind of been interested in her rise because you never saw her. And all of a sudden she was like their lead reporter out of nowhere.
Yeah, she came out of nowhere. She really came out of nowhere. But yeah, real difference in tone. Real difference in tone when a reporter asks him about justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein versus when he's asked about the likely co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and of course, convict who's now in Club Fed, Ghislaine Maxwell. So we will see what happens here. I mean, now, as much as the Republicans may feel like they have the Clintons where they want them, it of course is not beyond the Clintons to lie to save their own fat faces. But assuming they have stuff on Trump, that could explain why he's pretty nervous about them being called in. They may know a few things that they have not revealed in the past because of the theory of mutually assured destruction. Sure. But is there a chance that they can try and weasel their way out of trouble and take him down? Yeah, there's always a chance. That's been the Clintons' MO. They're the sleaziest, dirtiest, most corrupt, most amoral people in the world. And so, of course, there's a chance that might happen. And I think Trump knows there's a chance that might happen, which is why he's so bizarrely unenthusiastic about Bill and Hillary Clinton being called in to testify separately as it pertains to the Epstein files. Yeah, exactly.
Lock her up, right? Yeah, if you were a Trump supporter, particularly if you were like a hardcore Trump supporter, particularly if you were MAGA, and even worse if you were QAnon. Yo, man, there's I always think of the Willy Wonka meme. You get nothing. Right. You get nothing. This is you elect Donald Trump. He's gonna fight the deep state and the PDF files. And here, hey, how about Ghislaine Maxwell? I wish her well. How about the Clintons? Well, I always liked him. I always liked him. Every single thing he told you was a lie. Everything. Everything. He doesn't believe anything he told you he believed. He has no convictions. And he's friends with all the people he told you should hate and that he hated. He likes these people. They went to his wedding.
Yeah. Oh no, it's worse than you get nothing. He's Kaiser Sose and you're Chaz Palminteri stuck holding the coffee cup. And he walks out of the office and you see it drop it. Oh my God. That's what this is. That's really what this is. It is pretty extraordinary. And who knows if it's coming to a head or not. But that will be obviously big news to see what comes out of ththese hearings. And yeah, I endorse her plan 100%. First time I agreed with Hillary Clinton perhaps my entire life as it pertains to any like high profile statement she's made. It should absolutely be public and live streamed for all to see. I like that idea very much.
We have needs.
Yes, Daddy has needs. That's right. All right. What have we got over here? Do I have any more Rumble rants? Oh, I didn't copy these over. Okay, I do have some, but I got to copy them over. You got some super chats there?
I do. Uncivil unrest. Be careful, guys. Dr. Myro just got his YouTube channel hacked. It was a potential sponsor phishing attack. Watch his short explaining. We had a little phishing attack recently. Not that, though.
It wasn't that. No, it was.
The only reason I did not fall victim is because I'm a flake and a bad friend. So I never clicked the link when I was asked to vote for the person's thing.
Yeah, it was a Twitter attempt. Didn't have nothing to do with YouTube. But thanks for the heads up. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Axel Strife, what's the over under on number of times the fifth gets invoked? They're not going to invoke the fifth. It's going to be like a Chappelle skit. They're not going to do that. Yeah. Bill Clinton invented the phrase. Yeah. It depends on what the meaning of the word is. They're not going to invoke the fifth. Pot thoughts. What isn't the big story? The fact that executive order got signed to prevent regulation of AI. Yeah.
We covered that.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
They predict 80 to 90% of jobs gone in 15 years and a fully automated military by 2040. Yeah, we've talked a lot about this. Some people say they're really overselling the potentialities of AI. The best take that I've seen, I can't remember who this was now. But it was somebody talking about this on like an economics channel who said like, hey, what usually happens is the people get out ahead of where this technology is, but eventually the technology will be there. So all of the internet, dogtreats.com stuff of the 90s was getting way out ahead of where it actually was. So you get all this money goes in and you get a big crash. And they were saying that's going to happen with AI. But what happened in the end, the internet did get to that place. It just wasn't ready for it yet. And he actually talked about, I think it was HBO, he was saying tried to do a streaming service back in the 90s, but the technology just wouldn't support a streaming service. It just wasn't good enough. Everyone still had dial-up modems. Like the best speed you could get was, what were those, T1 and T2 lines? That was like the best. It was very rare that anybody had that. And he was saying, a lot of these applications they want for AI, it's not ready yet. It's very reminiscent of the 90s with the internet, but it will be eventually. Yes. And that's why it's increasingly doesn't make any sense for a working person, for a normal person. If you're not an oligarch, you should be fighting like hell for socialism now, because without socialism, they're just going to let you starve in the street.
Yeah, I hate to be a downer, but it's probably beyond that, because the problem with AI is that a lot of countries are reluctant to rein it in because they're afraid that other countries won't. And if one country floors it and the other country pulls back, then there goes a pretty severe imbalance. So I would say learn how to grow avocados and find some land somewhere and get digging, get planted. Yeah, that's what I would say. All right. What do we got over here? We got 2,200 strong in the YouTube channel. We got 1,106 in the like column. All right, folks, we got one more segment on the day, just a couple of program notes. If you want to escape the horrors of the news, you can come over to my music channel at 4 p.m. today, youtube.com/@shufflepod. I got my top 5 albums of 1990 list counting down today. That'll be a lot of fun. So go ahead over there, smash the subscribe button, and join in the premiere of that and chat with your fellow dissidents while we get away from it all for about 35 minutes. Also, program note, Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, so we will be on in the morning on Sunday, either 10 or 10:30. Russ, I got to confirm with you because Amanda might have an event in the afternoon, so we might have to push it up to 10 instead of 10:30. But we will be on in the morning on Sunday. We're not going to compete with the Super Bowl. I know you all want to watch Bad Bunny. I know. We all of us are excited to watching the ICE raid at the Super Bowl halftime show when Bad Bunny is on stage. So we're not going to be on.
It's going to be some Maduro shit. You got to see him with glasses, a bottle of water.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's going to be must-see TV. So we will be doing an early show this Sunday. Make sure you are subscribed to our Substack, even if you don't sign up as a paid member. If you sign up to the newsletter, you get emails telling you hours in advance when we're going to be live. So it really comes in handy on days when there is a schedule change. So we'll be on Sunday morning, not Sunday night, because it's Super Bowl Sunday. Go Seahawks. Go Seahawks. Mandatory rooting for the Seahawks, given Robert Kraft's relationship with both Donald Trump and the state of Israel. Got to root against the New England Patriots. And that's not just the New Yorker in me speaking. That is my political conscience speaking. So go Seattle. All right. It's Shama Sawant versus Robert Kraft on Sunday. It's a no-brainer. All right. Got one more segment, right?
One more. Okay. So Batya Ungar-Sargon has, I bet you will never guess what her take on the Epstein Files is. I bet you will not guess what she thinks about the kind of people who are concerned about the Epstein Files. Let's see what her go-to is going to be.
I really agree with the president. I think that most Americans just do not care about this. This has been an obsession of elites on the right. Elites on the right were obsessed with it when they thought they could use it to hurt leftists, and now the left is obsessed with it because they think they can use it to hurt the right.
You know what? I don't think most Americans are concerned about skyrocketing healthcare bills. This is something that really only elites talk about.
Yeah.
I have this. I think I shot it on my phone. I was literally in this beautiful building in Buffalo. I forget the name of it. It's like downtown. It's kind of locally famous. And, I hear this piercing harpy, and I immediately recognize it's Batya's voice. And there's a TV. She's being interviewed. And I go over, and she's making the argument that working class people are very protective of Jews, and anti-Semitism is elite. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. She is really, we were talking about when we did our year-end awards, we were talking about some things that we overlooked. We really overlooked her for hack of the year, because if that's not a hack, what is?
Yeah.
Someone who just
What
has
is?
the exact same analysis for everything.
The exact same analysis for everything.
Yeah.
For everything. Student loans, it's only elites.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
elites don't have student loans.
Right.
They don't
Yeah,
have
exactly.
them. What are you talking about? It's the poor kids who go to school who have student loans.
It's generally poor kids who get sex trafficked too. Sex trafficking is not really a crime that elites
Look
fall
at who
victim
all
to
these girls
very
are.
often.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Elites.
Zenyab Day, she said the same about people caring about genocide. Apparently, Batya thinks it's elitist to have basic empathy and a desire to hold the actual elites accountable for their actions. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. Well, that's
it's
what you
elite
get
to care about anything except trans basketball players in junior high school.
Yeah.
Everything else is an elite concern.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how the only mode of thought that's not elite is one that completely aligns with the interests of elites.
Right.
Those are the only things
Yeah,
that are acceptable in Batya's cosmology. Change research. Americans overwhelmingly want full transparency on the Epstein files. It doesn't sound like it's just elites there. Is as of September, majority of voters want full release. 74% strongly support. 15% somewhat support. So that's almost unanimous.
Yeah, that's a lot of elites.
Almost nothing in America is unanimous. That's a lot of elites.
No, 92% of Americans were elites. Who knew? I guess we're elites. We didn't even know it.
I guess we're elite. We didn't even know. Well, I mean, we're Americans, so we're automatically elite, right? Here more recently, CNN poll. Just 6% of Americans satisfied with how much U.S. has released from Epstein files so far. Just 6%.
I would bet every dime
I would bet that 6% are the actual elites.
That's what you took the words right out of my mouth. I would bet everything I own that most people who are totally cool with the level of transparency are the actual elites. Yes.
That's the elites. We found them. Nearly 9 in 10 Democrats and 72% of independents say the government is intentionally withholding information, as do 42% of Republicans. Given the cultish nature of political parties, that's very high to get to almost 50% when it's something that so clearly impacts their president in particular. Only 1/3 of Republicans think the government is making an effort to release information, with the rest not weighing in either way. They're beating up brown people. That's all I know. Just 6% of Americans say they're satisfied with what the federal government has released so far. Little change from 3% in a July 2025 survey. A 49% plurality say they're dissatisfied, with the remainder saying that it doesn't matter to them or that they haven't heard enough to say. So that's the best case scenario. 49% of people are not satisfied. Best case scenario. Are you saying half the country are elite? That's news to me. But she went on with her brilliant analysis that she gets paid ungodly money to offer.
I'm saying so far there has been no evidence of that. I'm looking through all of the documents, and so far there is still no evidence. I'm open to it. If you listen to me,
Oh,
I
sure
just
you
feel
are.
like it's like
Sure
the
you're open
obsession.
to
I mean, bringing the Clintons in, it's ridiculous.
Right, but
it is ridiculous.
You just said you agree with Donald Trump. You just said you agree with Donald Trump.
I'm saying it's time to move on. And
I
think it's interesting. You want to move on from this, but not from ballots in Fulton County from 6 years ago. And I will say that
literally said I am not interested in that story at all.
No evidence. Nope. No evidence. Nothing to see there. Disgraced director turned documentary making hack for the administration. Brett Ratner there with the deceased under mysterious circumstances, as so often comes up in the Epstein case. Former modeling agency owner Jean-Luc Brunel, who allegedly provided some of his models to Epstein, and there Prince Andrew. I don't know what's going on there, but it looks pretty fucking demonic. It sure as hell doesn't look like anything innocent. Does that look like innocent hijinks to you? No, nothing.
That doesn't look like any cocktail hour I've ever been to.
Nah, I mean, maybe on Staten Island.
How about this? Sorry, I got to just add this for a minute. That one too. You're going to say that's ridiculous? Ridiculous that they would.
Why
ask
did they
him,
redact the face?
All right, so who's in the bathtub? Here, there's a question I got. That's not such a ridiculous question. Who's in the hot tub with you?
Right.
Blink twice if it's Donald Trump.
Yeah. And how about this? We don't know for sure what this shows, but it's certainly suggestive. This is to Elon Musk from Epstein's assistant, who comes up a lot in these files. Hello, Mary Beth. That's presumably Elon's assistant. I have now sent you a copy of all three girls' passports. Sorry, redacted is upside down. Remember, redactions are for victims, right? But I figure you will print. Jeffrey will have his ID with him. Again, we don't know, but if you're saying, no, I don't see any evidence of that in the files, well, that is a very suggestive email. We don't know for sure what it means, but it's fishy, isn't it? If you're saying no evidence, I'd say that strongly suggests some evidence.
It doesn't look great.
Hey, doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. How many people will you be for the heli to the island? Probably just Tallulah and me. What day night will be the wildest party on your island? That just begs the question, why did all these people lie about knowing this guy? And why were they hanging out with a convicted PDF file sex trafficker? Why were they even involved with him? And then why did they go on and lie about it? Nothing to see there. Big nothing burger. But hey, no, not when it's to political advantage. That's what you call a hack. This is Brianna Joy Gray. First Batya acknowledgement of the Epstein Files. So Mark Caputo says in regards to Chomsky, manufacturing consent has a whole new meaning. She says, I'm so mad I didn't think of this joke. I thought there's nothing in there. I guess except when your masters see political advantage in validating it.
Yeah.
Then there's something in there. But otherwise,
when you can get a dig in against an elite. See, that's the thing.
The
Chomsky's an elite. Yeah.
He's an elite, right? He's one of those, they're elites. So Ben Shapiro spent months gaslighting the public about Epstein. Why? Because a good pet doesn't bark when its owner's secrets are at risk. Mossad's involvement isn't a conspiracy, it's a fact. So here's Ben Shapiro spreading anti-Semitism like he does. Like it's his job. In fact, he put on the big kippa for this one.
Yeah, exactly.
He really wants to spread the Jew hate. He really wants to make everyone feel like, well, you know what? I was against illegal settlements, but now that I have to live in one because the entire Western world has pitchforks and torches out for me, all right, I guess I'll move to Israel.
There are, by the way, but they are child pornography. The reason the FBI is not releasing them is because those tapes do not include underage people with third parties on Epstein Island. That is not what the tapes are. Okay, I also have sources in the federal government who are covering this stuff and have seen the documents. Okay, those tapes are just child porn. That's all.
As you know, the Mossad has completely infiltrated the federal government. So nothing goes on in the government. The Mossad doesn't know, which means nothing goes on in the government that I don't know.
All. That's what they are. That's why the FBI is not releasing them. Okay, as far as the Epstein list, what I have been told by my sources is that there is no Epstein list, that basically there's a black book of Jeffrey Epstein contacts. And the vast majority of those contacts are already out there publicly. That's why you know names like Prince Andrew or Alan Dershowitz or some of the names that have been mentioned here. Those contacts, there is no evidence, according to the DOJ and the FBI, and again, that's public. There's no evidence that any of those third parties were having girls trafficked to them. Here is Tucker then asserting that it was actually Mossad. Again, without evidence, not a shock. Of course, this is where Tucker was going. This has become the hot speculation on the internet, is without evidence. You say that Mossad was running Jeffrey Epstein. When I say without evidence, I mean without evidence. Naftali Bennett, the former Israeli prime minister, said, quote,
and the most credible source imaginable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if he said it, it must be true, because the Israelis never lie. They never lie. They're so honest.
With the Mossad having reported directly to me, I say to you with 100% certainty, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false.
Yeah.
This accusation is a lie being peddled by prominent online personalities such as Tucker Carlson, pretending they know things they don't. And in fact, I followed up with the former Prime Minister, Naftali Bennett, and what he told me is that Mossad has not been active in the United States against the United States since the Jonathan Pollard scandal of 1987.
Oh.
When a U.S. Army contractor who's actually working for the Navy revealed.
The Jonathan Pollard who spied on us that Mike Huckabee just met with? Is that who he's talking about? Did Mike Huckabee go and meet with him? Yeah.
Classified information to the Israeli government. He was prosecuted by the United States government and ended up in prison for almost 30 years. And so Israel since then has not spied on the United States with.
Israel hasn't spied on the United States since then. So we're not going to play this video. We played it in a segment the other day. You can easily look this up. But this is a former Israeli intelligence officer, Ari Ben Menshe, who says Netanyahu is blackmailing Trump. Quote, the U.S. government is in Israel's grip. Epstein was one of their tools. They used him to corner multiple American presidents, not just with sex, but with money and where it came from. See, that's very interesting, because one of the Epstein Files was quoting a confidential informant who didn't really focus on sex, but talked about the corruption of the Kushners and the money that they were moving around and how criminal their financial activities were. Doesn't even have to be sex that he's blackmailing you with. It can also be illegal money. And Ryan Grimm, of course, and again, we did a segment the other day if you want to check it out, but just to sum up, as Ehud Barak was leaving official government service in Israel, he turned to Jeffrey Epstein for guidance. Epstein told him he needed to look at a Peter Thiel company called Palantir. Rare audio of Epstein and Barak from the latest DOJ release. Yeah, no, Ehud Barak was a frequent guest at Epstein's mansion. Epstein had relationships with 4 Israeli prime ministers. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, clearly involved with Israeli intelligence. Yeah, no, nothing to see there. And, this has come up over the years in a couple of different segments. The Nation did this great article about the fact that Russiagate was actually Israelgate. That a lot of things that legitimately looked funny because there was a there. It was just the wrong country. The Trump campaign's collusion with Israel, while U.S. media fixated on Russian interference in the 2016 election, an Israeli secret agent's campaign to influence the outcome went unreported. Well, of course it did. With so much on the line, talking about how Obama was kind of breaking his balls and Trump, he knew, was going to give the store away to him. Netanyahu appears to have made a drastic decision. He would dispatch a discreet, highly trusted aide armed with critical intelligence to covertly intervene in the U.S. election to help put his man Trump in the White House. Based on the FBI documents, the intelligence appears to have consisted of advanced knowledge of Russia's hacking of the DNC and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, and it may have included confidential details from the stolen emails. It was likely obtained by Israeli eavesdropping operations that were targeting secret Russian communications as well as those of WikiLeaks. Based on the emails and text messages contained in the documents, the conspiracy began in the late spring of 2016 when it was beginning to appear that Trump had a good chance of winning the Republican nomination. This was also when the FBI and the media began focusing heavily on possible Russian collusion with the Trump campaign as a result of Moscow's hacking of the DNC and the Clinton campaign. But while the Mueller investigation was never able to conclusively demonstrate any collusion with Russia, the FBI did uncover hard evidence of extensive collusion between close Trump associates and the highest levels of the Israeli government. So, yeah, there was collusion, just not with Russia. It was actually with Israel, which, not surprisingly, the media was deeply uncurious about. So the idea that Israel has not been involved spying in America since Jonathan Pollard, absolutely ridiculous. And so what are they going to try to do now in their desperation? This from Gen X Girl. Public service announcement. Zionists have declared hating Epstein as the purest form essence of anti-Semitism. The Ellisons have already rolled out this new rule for Goyim hate speech by banning the word Epstein on TikTok. So this is Richard Hanania. Hating Epstein is now the purest form of anti-Semitism. The resentment of mediocrities, conspiracy thinking, and chud moralism. Chud moralism, like, what do you mean? Like, it's you're a chud if you don't have the sophistication to appreciate ebophilia? Is that what you call it?
That could be the tagline to our show. You know, resentment of mediocrities and chud moralism.
That's how you should title the podcast.
Yeah, chud moralism
version.
Yeah,
yes,
that should be the podcast.
Moralism.
Yeah, chud moralism. That should be the title of this podcast. I think it will be.
Yeah, I mean, they go back and forth. Like, they can't quite figure out how to put out this fire. They can't figure it out. You know, oh, there's nothing there. You know, Michael Tracy helps them out with that.
Well, that guy Richard Hanania, he hosts a show with Michael Tracy. They do a Substack show. So he's
well, that actually I did not know that.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe that has something to do with that perspective. But the idea, yeah, I mean, the Epstein Files are spreading anti-Semitism, but that doesn't make the Epstein Files anti-Semitic. It's causing anti-Semitism because there's a lot of shit in there that doesn't make the Jews look good, man.
Yeah.
You know, when you got them talking about the Goyim, forget about the sex stuff, just all that. Look, you know, when I've talked about this stuff on the show, I've said, like, you know, I'm giving away the family secrets there. Like, it is a dirty secret of the Jewish community how fucking racist a lot of it is. Not all of it. We're not, you know,
right.
people, you know, Max, Katie, you know, that represents what we understood as what it's supposed to be. But yeah, man, that's the fact. Like, it's a particularly extreme kind of racism, because it's not racism directed at black people or at Asian people. It's anyone who's not Jewish. It basically encompasses the planet.
Right.
If you're not Jewish, you're Goyim. Now, not all Jews believe that. It doesn't surprise me this comes up so much in the Epstein Files, because the more wealthy and elite they are, the more likely they are to see things that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Were you tossing to me?
I was tossing you. I don't know what you're doing over
No,
there.
I was nodding along. I was just nodding along. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. No, I think,
Nodding off, I think.
Yeah, no. No, you're right. I mean, no, 'cause
I'm the one who's 3 a.m. I don't know what your problem is.
No, I talked about this on Jimmy's show yesterday. I mean, we did two full segments about it. Yeah, no, it's a problem. It's definitely a widespread problem, and I think given that Jews are less likely to end up on Stop Anti-Semitism's Anti-Semite of the Year list, I think we have more leeway than most to sort of call it out and shed some light on it. And what I said on Jimmy's is what I'll repeat here. Jewish community needs to get its shit together and speak out in one voice to the extent that's possible. Obviously, we are not a monolith, but I think if you're Jewish, you should be speaking out about this shit because, yeah, that is racist shit in these Epstein files.
Of course it is.
Let the goyim live in the real world. Is that the quote? Obviously.
Yeah. Now it's not just the Jews. It's also the MAGAs. So Trump's former personal attorney, no conflict of interest there, installed as Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche, trying to put the best possible face on these files.
Is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in relations with minors will be prosecuted? Any chance?
I'll never say no, and we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein, and so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things, and if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand that. It isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to.
It didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right, and unfortunately, photos can't speak, and so we need witnesses and we need
other
evidence.
videotapes that you all have, or?
And neither can dead women.
It's cute. These are very divisive times, in our country. We're really at each other's throat. And so it is kind of heartwarming to see these people just perform the Democrats' campaign ads for them. Just here it is. Like, that's a kind gesture, Don't think that's not going to get clipped 1,000 times. Not to mention this next one you got.
It's not a crime. Okay, this is the best. This is the best. It's time to come together as a nation and stop attacking PDF files, according to Ted Cruz.
Keeps on happening. Now, Senator Booker also said we should have bipartisan agreement. I think that's a great idea. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles?
Sure. Are you with me? Are you with me? Let's do it.
Smooth stuff there. That's what I mean. Like, they're literally you're performing. You're performing. The Democrats' campaign ads for them. You're just giving them the material.
Few funny memes going around. He's not in the files. The files are a hoax. He's an FBI informant. Okay, the files aren't a hoax. Okay, he's in the files. You are here. Okay, he's one of them. That's next. It's coming. The conformist meme. Protecting pedos is good now. Yeah. Although most people are not buying it. I must say. You're down to a hardcore of scum that's going along with that. MAGA, molesters are granted amnesty. Yeah, that's what it stands for now. So, it is just amazing to have all of these people who built their political identity around moral offense.
Yeah.
The satanic elite PDF files, including Batya, right?
Right.
All of a sudden having to flip and defend this. This is what distinguishes all these people. You have to have an absolute lack of conscience and shame to do that job. Like we were talking about this before we went on. Like, why does Batya have that career? That's why. Normal people can't do that and sleep at night.
Right.
You got to be a certain kind of person where, yeah, whatever you need me to do, boss, I'll do it. Doesn't matter how ridiculous, doesn't matter how it makes me look. I'll do it. Right.
Yeah.
That's a certain kind of scum, and that's what these people are. They're scum. They're all scum.
Yeah, it's pretty unconscionable, and it's pretty unbelievable to see it reveal itself so quickly. It's incredibly off-brand, like you said. I mean, there's almost nothing to say about it, past that. Like, these were the people. I mean, I remember when that fucking movie came out, that Sound of Freedom.
Sound
movie.
of Freedom, yeah.
They were all,
yeah.
They were all photographing themselves in the theaters, how proud they were to support this movie. And I mean, now the movie is real life. And where are you? Where are you? It's incredible. It really is.
Yeah,
it really is a lesson.
Where's what's his name? Jim Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel. Yeah. Where's Jim
Where
Caviezel?
is he? Where is he? He should be speaking out against Daddy there.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a teachable moment. It really is. I guess the lesson is just like never underestimate people's ability to put their own interests above literally everything else in the world, and they feel absolutely zero pressure, much less obligation to show any sort of moral or intellectual consistency about anything. Just when all else fails, just deny. That's it.
Well, and Ben Shapiro, if you remember, it's about a year ago, maybe a little more, everyone was talking about how Daily Wire was going bankrupt in the wake of Candace leaving. And who was the other one who left? Who was it who left the Daily Wire? Wasn't there another one that left the Daily Wire? Another one of their heavy hitters?
I'm not sure.
Was
it one of the? Yeah, I think it was one of the people that you knew who they were and I didn't.
Yeah. But there was a lot of talk. Oh, Daily Wire, they're laying people off, and all of a sudden they're flush. And hey, man, come on. It's not even about whether you like them or don't like them. I look at Pod Save America, can't stand. It's like a spike in my head, but it makes sense to me that they have an audience. There's an audience for that. There's no audience for this. So how is he still going? How is Daily Wire still going? There's no audience for that. For that Ben Shapiro clip. That is a very, 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 that's certainly not enough to support the operation that they have. They got money, man. They got money. And three guesses who they're getting it from.
Yeah, 6% of the population agrees with Ben Shapiro on that statement.
Right.
Basically, yeah. That's a small pool to fish in for an operation that big. All right. We will take our remaining chats and rants here. Old Stoner says, not asking for an inquiry to change stuff so these things can't happen in the future. How is it possible and what laws need to be put in place to stop it? Then you're just using kid fucking to score political points. I think you're living up to your username there, Old Stoner. Free shit. The 93% of your reps, 100 senators, 435 reps take money from a foreign lobby. You don't have a government. Sorry, you can't give more. That's all right, free shit.
That's cool, man.
That's cool. Thank you. Stop with the goyim. It's anti-goyist. Only us goyim can use the G word. My goy is. Thank you for that. Torska, RFK by 2030 will be shitting out his love baby LMAO. Compliments to the chef. Yeah, you see his picture with Kid Rock? He was visited with Kid Rock. They put a picture in the mansion. I guess he's going to come out and say Miller Lite cures autism. Eric Rousseau, Trump shit himself in Oval Office. Press rushed out. Office in biological containment. I did see that video. It's inconclusive.
Is that true?
It is interesting.
Oh, I thought he was kidding.
No, there's a video where, I mean, I think they were going to get the press out anyway because they were starting to ask about the Epstein Files. I think it was time to go anyway.
There have been a lot of rumors that there's a god-awful stink from Trump.
No, there was a woman standing behind him who kind of looked like she smelled something, and they rushed everybody out. It's possible. Will Caitlyn get some younger podcaster to bleach his hair like the older version of her? Yeah, I don't know. Hey, who knows? Maybe one of my sons will be Caitlyn Collins' husband. Vienticus Prime. Yes, they're totally thinking, boy, I really wish someone would hold me with all my money to account. Kemen, Caitlyn Collins' rapid rise is likely due to the rapid rise she gives to the executives at CNN. It's also funny how people who are so ardent on cartoon drawings are real people. So if they're young girls you need to go to jail are appearing in Files. I don't know what you're referring to there, Vienticus. You may be a couple million files ahead of me. I'm still on the first million. All right, you got some YouTube chats?
Yeah, let's bring it home.
Let's bring it home.
Pot thoughts. I know you guys do, but not mainstream. Do you get that?
No, that's probably a reference.
I don't get the context. Yeah. Cubist Cosmonaut, please play the Crack Amico Portnoy disc.
Second show in a row someone's brought up Crack Amico. I still don't know who he is. I never heard of him.
Daniel Finn, $1.99. Thank you, man. All right, that's it.
That's it. We got a couple over on Rumble came in under the wire. Vienticus, I think some unsavory stuff was being alleged by the Sound of Freedom guys. I haven't looked into it lately. I think so too. I forget about it too, but I kind of recall about, not by. Yeah, no, there was some kind of weird shit that came out about the hero of that movie. I forget what.
Oh,
it was.
yeah. That I mean, like that he made some of it up, and that he was.
That it was all bullshit.
And,
interesting.
And that, I mean, that was exaggerated, and that he was sexually assaulting some women who worked on the production and stuff.
Imagine you join that movie. Imagine you join the crew of that movie and you get sexually harassed.
No. It wasn't that. It was women who worked on his sting operations.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. He was like, ironically assaulting women who were working with him to go after traffickers.
That is ironic. I will have to say that. That is irony right there. Looks like Virtuoso got us at the last second here.
Yeah, I got one in there. Next thing you know, the New York Times will report that Epstein played Call of Duty online with Xi Jinping, who's in the mood for some matzo ball wonton soup. Yeah, man. I think they have that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. They should have that. Be a big seller here in New York. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big market for that over here. All righty, folks. Thanks very much for being here. Appreciate you all. We will see you back here Sunday morning because it is Super Bowl Sunday this Sunday. So early morning stream. We had great numbers the last time we did the morning stream. So we're looking forward to a great show again this Sunday. Smash that like button on the way out. Smash that subscribe button and that follow button over on Rumble. And have a pleasant couple of days. And we will see you back here Sunday morning. Until then, thanks very much, everybody, for being here. Until next time, be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.